Wonderful. Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
Let's get it. Good morning, people. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Up State. Tuesday, bright and dark and early. It don't matter. We got work
You
to do.
yourself can be bright this early.
Yeah, but I think bright and early describes the day, not me and then the day. Because if there is one thing that you will never call me, it's early to anything ever.
Okay, so we're not going to hear that boy ain't bright. He ain't smart. I don't know what he's doing.
I mean, I've heard it before.
Yeah, me too.
It's not okay. Well, that's just unnecessary. We got 4 hours of the most electrifying sports talk entertainment in the game coming your way and starting right this very second. You want in? Good. I want you in. It's very simple to get in. 844-326-3663 is the number to text the show on the Hub City Spartanburger text line. You can also use that number to call the radio program. 844-326-3663 is the number. Jump on board and be a part of the show in whichever way you wish to do so. You can get at us on the old Twitterverse at The Rob Brown Show. That's me. At Lonzo Onward. That is he. At the Fan Upstate, that is we. All of us. Me, Great One, Diesel, Cole Bryson, everybody jump in that direction, be a part of the show. I got told yesterday that once again, it's like I can't win with you people. I got told yesterday, there was an event yesterday at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. The Greenville Swamp Rabbits introduced their new head coach, Chad Costello. And I went over there to be a part of the press conference and was talking after the presser was over. They did a lovely little reception for Coach. And as I went up there, I was talking to a handful of the fans. And the Swamp Rabbit fans exclusively know me from two places. They know me obviously from the show, and they know me from being the in-arena game day announcer for that team as well. And so I was standing up in the reception with one of them, and he said, I listen to your show in the mornings. And I said, that's fantastic. I appreciate that. And I made my traditional joke of, well, between you and my mom, that's at least two people. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Because I got them scripted. I got them ready to go.
Yeah, maybe hire a new writer, get a couple more in there.
That's good stuff. It works. Most people chuckle. So he said, no. He said, I listen every day. He said, I almost called the other day because I had a Stanley Cup take. And I said, great. Why didn't you? And he said, well, you didn't invite people to be a part of the show. So I didn't know if it was okay to call or not. People, you're not invited to call the show. You're mandated to call the show. All right. I want you on the air. I want you to be a part of it. I firmly believe that sports are better with more good voices involved with them. I don't need Stephen A. Smith on another show. But y'all, I believe y'all because y'all know ball. Because if you didn't know ball, you wouldn't be here right now. All right. So the phone line is given out almost at most segments, most days, because you were invited and encouraged to call the show. We got a lot we got to get to. Florida dismantles Edmonton last night. Speaking of the Stanley Cup, the Rat does it again. Opens up with a 57-second goal. And the thought in that spot was, okay, good hockey team. Of course they came out with the little fuego. Of course they came out a little hot. They were carrying the Momo from the other night. No worries. The Oilers will answer. And then they didn't because they scored again. And then they scored again, and then they scored again, and then they scored again. 6-1, your final last night. Marchand opens. Verhaeghe closes the first period. It's 2-0. Florida scored a pair of goals in every period last night. But what this game was all about, and I suspect that it is a game that if I, hindsight being what it is, 2020, if I had a game that I would have said, you know what, I got to get somebody involved. I want somebody to watch this. So here's the game I would like you to watch. I don't know if it would have been this one or not. Great one. The game ended with 35 penalties and 140 penalty minutes either served or escorted back to the locker room to not participating in the game with 10-minute game conducts. The Edmonton Oilers
did
had
this extend
20.
the game, though?
No,
I was going to say
20-minute games.
That happens in the game.
Yep.
So,
20-minute game. So if two guys get a penalty on the same whistle, then if they both get 2-minute minors, that's considered as 4 minutes of penalty time.
Isn't it about time they fought? Because
it's been
3 games in.
It's been chippy a little bit. It was a straight up WWE match last night, up to it including, a legitimate double leg takedown right in front of the goal because a dude got a little stick happy. It was, I don't know, if a football game or a basketball game devolved into what I saw on the ice last night, I think I would have come in here and I'd have gotten preachy, right? If a football game or a basketball game devolved into their version of what I saw last night, I would have come in here today and I would have said, that's not okay. Disrespectful to the game. You should be ashamed of yourself. There's no place for that in the great sport of whatever sport we're talking about. Last night, it got to the end of the first. And I have this routine that I've started to do, which is I trick myself into thinking I'm going to stop watching the game and go to bed and watch it the next morning. It got to the end of the first period last night. It's 2-0 Cats. Again, in the first period, Marchand scored less than a minute in. Verhaeghe scored with 2 and some change left to play. It's 2-0. And then here come the Oilers. So I said end of the first, I'm like, all right. Still got a very good chance to be a good game. Over the past 2 Stanley Cups, we have had a few games where one team comes out with a rip-roaring start and the other team climbs back in. So I'm like, no worries. I'll go ahead and I'll throw on the old PJs. I'll pour myself a little bourbon. And then I'll hang out with the dog for a few minutes. And if Edmonton scores, great, we got a game. I'll stay up a little while. And if Florida continues to distance themselves, then I'll finish my Angels envy. I'll head to the bed. I'll give a goodnight kiss on the forehead to the wife. And I'll go to bed. So out we come. 1:40 into the second period. Corey Perry scores on the power play. And I'm like, all right, 2-1. We got ourselves a game here. Then 1 minute and 20 seconds later, Sam Reinhart scores. It's 3-1. Then 4.5 minutes later, Sam Bennett scores. It's 4-1. But at this point, it was very evident that when Brad Marchand scored the double OT game winner in game number 2, he broke the Oilers. Because at this point, the Oilers were they were trying to do the one thing I warned them about. Do the one thing that I warned Carolina about. Do not try to out Florida. You can't do it. No one can do it. What Florida does is very Florida man, and you cannot take it from somebody who used to be one. You cannot out Florida man. You just can't do it. And even if they are 80% Canadians and a couple of Europeans and a handful of Americans like Matthew Tkachuk, they're still Florida mans. You can't out the Florida man. So at this point, Edmonton is just reacting and doing nothing but reacting. You could see the absolute frustration from the coaching staff on the bench. You could see the frustration from the players on the ice. They tried to get into a Florida man off with Florida mans, and that's never going to win. There's an old expression that we use very regularly in politics, which is never try. What's the? God damn it! Now I just forgot what it was. What's it like? Like don't wrestle with a pig; they'll drag you down in the slop. you'll lose and they'll enjoy it. You know this phrase I'm talking about. I'm dumb and I can't remember.
I've never
it,
heard that phrase before, but it makes sense. I mean,
yeah, it's like don't. And I'm again big dumb idiot. It's like don't wrestle with a pig. Don't wrestle with a pig is a phrase that is short for don't waste your time and energy in a situation where the other party is enjoying the conflict. You can't beat that guy. Because he'll keep the conflict going for the sake of the conflict, not because he's got good nature in the resolution of the conflict. When somebody enjoys the conflict more than they enjoy the resolution of conflict, then you don't argue with that guy because you cannot win. Either A, you stretch out, you end up seeing the stretching out of the conflict to the point that for them it's just self-pleasure and gratitude. And B, you can't win. They will never admit defeat because it's not about winning or losing. It's just about getting under your skin and annoying the crap out of you. That's all it's about.
Why'd you point at me every time as you were saying?
No, see,
that?
the problem is they have this building set where you and I sit across from each other.
Which is how it should
I'm
be.
a generic pointer.
It should be us across.
No,
from
we should
each
be
other.
sitting 90 degrees.
Why?
All right? I should be facing this way and you over there.
Oh,
so
okay.
that I
Okay.
can do this without you thinking that everything I say is about you. Because I'm a politician's pointer. I just generic point to make a point.
By the way,
Or am I wrestling with a pig right now?
you all, well, I don't know. It's because your pointing is different when you mean it towards me. The fingers are moved in a
If
different
I mean
way.
you get a one finger point.
No.
This is a
that's
point.
That's too aggressive for you. So the fingers will part just a little bit. So the point is in there without it looking like that you're actually doing the full on point.
So I should run for office. Got it.
Well, we all knew that for years now. So.
I should not run for office.
But in they knew they were beat, so they just decided to fight.
No, not out front. Out front, I don't think they were beat. I think about a little more than halfway through the second period. I think that they were still very much in this game. 3-1 is an overcomable deficit. 3-1's an overcomable deficit.
In hockey, it is?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, this is the I was actually texting last night my group of Discord bros that have been watching the playoffs together in a Discord group chat were unavailable last night. But we had a group text going because two of them were with their cheering at a theater production that well, they don't live here, so I can say it without getting them in trouble. They were at a theater production that they had zero interest in being at. Like a third grade presentation of, I won't say what play they were doing, but pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
That's the thing that you tell your buddies, oh, yeah, I didn't want to be there. They absolutely wanted to
Really?
be there.
Because I never stopped getting texts from them, so they were clearly watching hockey and the text thread, not the play.
I don't know why you're bringing poor parenting onto this
I don't know why you are.
You do dislike kids, so you're taking joy in the
No,
fact
that is
other
incorrect.
people dislike kids.
That isn't correct. What I do enjoy is glasses of bourbon and hockey. When I want to watch hockey and drink glasses of bourbon. And what I don't think we're going to do.
What does that have to do with kids at a play?
What I don't think we're going to do is say that being part of a good parent is you must enjoy every minute of everything that your child does. No, you're going to hate some of it. You're going to think some of it sucks and don't want to be there. You're telling me there was never a moment that your kids were actively involved in something that you didn't sit back in a chair and be like,
I missed 2 events.
That's
the
not
entire
what I
time
said.
They were there,
That's not what I said.
And I'm still upset about it. No, let me finish. I'm still upset about it. I did enjoy every second because those are my kids, and I was so grateful that I was able to work in a job that I was able to be there for everything they did. The couple things that I didn't get to go to was because they both were doing something at once, and we had to split it up.
I think there is a difference between I am glad I get to be there for my kids versus I'm enjoying this thing they're doing.
Here's the thing. Why am I talking? Because you don't believe me. And you should believe me because absolutely that was my goal in life and I met my goal. Everything from now on is just cake. Real tasty cake too.
I do like cake. Yesterday I had a lemon cake. Holy crap.
What kind of frosting?
Lemon. It was like lemon buttercream frosting on a lemon cake.
Buttercream.
I lost my mind. Hey, quick question. Any parents out there that are willing to acknowledge that there are things your kids do that you hate going to? Or any parents willing to say, yeah, my kid's in piano recitals and God, I would rather do anything else? Anybody willing to say that, my kid's playing this particular sport, I'm not a fan of that sport and I'm miserable, but I got to go because it's like, it's for me. I won't even read them on air if you don't want me to. I'm just curious, okay? Anyway, the boys last night, two of my hockey bros who are friends from back home, had to go watch their kids who are classmates put on a play. And they were evidently watching the Stanley Cup on their phone from, I assume, the back of like an elementary school auditorium somewhere. And we were all texting back and forth about this game. And when Florida went up 4-1 in this game, there was still over half of the game remaining, right? Still half the game remaining. And one of the guys texts me and he goes, well, I guess if there was a game to miss, it was this one because it's over. And I said, well, hang on. There's still half the game left to play. They can score 4 and win this thing. And he goes, why do you say that? And I said, because we played half the game and Florida scored 4. Like if Florida can score 4 in half the game, why can't another Stanley Cup final championship caliber team? And then I pointed out that if you took that same attitude into last year's Stanley Cup, you missed out on a banger of a series because Florida won 3 consecutive games to open up the Cup last year. And then what happened? Edmonton won 3 consecutive games to make it a 3-3 series and force a Game 7. Like, it's not over. Except for he was right about this one because it was definitely over. Florida would pile on 2 more in the third period from Ekblad and Rodriguez, and it was all over at that point. Edmonton at one point, in fact, pulled. Stu Skinner's been one of the best goalkeepers in this postseason, but Stu was getting Skinnered last night, and not the Leonard kind, and he got pulled after giving up 5 goals against 23 shots. Calvin Pickard came in. He gave up 1 on 8. It was gnarly for Edmonton. 21 penalties in the game for Edmonton. There were 14 more from Florida. Now, granted, a lot of Florida's came once Edmonton started taking the shots late in this one. Edmonton had, and this does include 10-minute misconducts, et cetera, but Edmonton served 85 penalty minutes last night. That's a lot of penalty minutes. Edmonton tried to out-Florida, and I promise you, as a former Florida man, if you go full Florida man in the presence of a Florida man, you are going to get out Florida manned. That's just how it's going to go. Texture said, I can't stand my kid's piano recitals. He plays for 3 minutes, but I'm stuck watching everyone else's kid for 2.5 hours. It makes me crazy. I dread that time every year. I get it. All right, back after this, the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
Oh, yeah. QC.
You told me that. All right, guys, be right back. Don't go anywhere. Good morning. Hey, about 4 or 5 years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, I got asked when I was down in Pensacola, Florida, I got asked to throw out a pitch for the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. That is the, I believe they are, actually, I think they're a Twins affiliate. Now, it doesn't matter. They're a same level as the Drive baseball team down in Pensacola, Florida. And so I said, absolutely. And the grounds manager, a gentleman by the name of Willie, super good dude. I actually need to check in, see if I can find out if he's still around down there in the Pensacola. Anyway, guy named Willie called me. He goes, I was doing morning radio in the time in the Fort Walton Beach, Destin area. We had an affiliate, well, not an affiliate. We had a station in Pensacola. And so he calls me. He goes, hey, man, listen, everybody on the team, everybody as a member of the organization gets to invite somebody to throw out a first pitch at a game. Would you like to be my invitee and come throw out a first pitch? And I said, yeah, absolutely. That would be spectacular. So I went over to the stadium, and he invited me for a night game. He invited me to come there at like noon that day, take a tour of the facility, kind of get to go, because I didn't work for the Wahoos the way that I've worked for some of the other clubs. So he said, come on out, I'll give you a tour of the facility, I'll walk you around the dugout, I'll bring you up to the press box, and like you can check out all the stuff. I'll show you all the equipment we use to take care of the field, which for a big nerd like me is super fascinating. Yeah, I'm in. So I went over there at like noon, and he did all that. Gave me the tour of the clubhouse, gave me the tour of the locker room, gave me the tour of everything. And then he goes, all right, let's head down to the field. The boys are going to get out there for warm-ups in BP. At around, 4 o'clock, they'll start getting out there and stretching and all that. And I was like, great. And I asked them, I'm like, hey, do you mind can I go out to the bump and throw a couple of warm-ups? Like, I want to make sure I still got it in the tank. It had been a long time since I threw a baseball. And he goes, yep, absolutely. And so he walks me out to the bump, and I'm just throwing some warm-up pitches, right? I'm just trying to make sure I still got that high heat. Still I can get it in there and, 72, 73. And throwing some pitches. And out comes a couple of the guys. And they rolled the BP cage they put around home plate, and then they roll the screen out that they put in front of the pitcher because he's going to be serving up meatballs, and the guys are going to try to ricochet him back. So they start rolling everything up. I leave the bump. Now, one of the assistant coaches on the team apparently was also a fan of the show. And I, because I'm me, bought myself a Wahoos jersey and put my name across the back of it because I'm an attention whore. So I said, I'm out there throwing, and coach walks over. And we're talking for a minute, and he goes, listen to your show. It's good to meet you, whatever. And I said, thanks. And he goes, do you want to throw some BP? And I'm like, to the boys? Yeah. Do you want to throw some BP for the fellas? They're about to start warming up. And I said, more than anything else in the world. And he goes, all right, cool. Hang on. We're going to get the cage set up. So they set the cage up, and they bring up, and I'm not going to lie, I don't even remember who was on the team at that point. This was, like I said, this is 4, 5, 6 years ago. He said, we're going to get the cage set up. They set the cage up, and they let me throw some BP. Well, I, of course, and I was a young man at the time. I was 34, 35 years of age. I, of course, was thinking to myself, do you understand, even if it's BP, do you understand the size that my noggin is going to swell to if I can K one of these boys? If I can ring one up, even if it's only in a game I'm playing in my head. If I can get one of these guys to watch or swing at 3, it will be my crowning athletic achievement in my lifetime. I played on a state championship runner-up basketball team in high school, all right? I was on travel little league teams that won state championships. I had some good runs. But my thought, if I can K a guy who's on his way, at the time, they were an affiliate of the Reds. If I can K a guy who is in the program getting developed to head to the show for Cincinnati, and I can create it, even if it's, like I said, in a game only in my head, this situation where sometime down the line, that guy goes to the dish, and he is swinging bats for the big club, and I can tell anybody within a 25-mile radius, I struck that guy out. Yeah, it was a batting practice, but I struck him out. It's going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. No day of my life will ever beat that. So Up to the dish comes one of the fellows on the roster, right? First guy I face. Now, I've been throwing pitches for, 10, 15 minutes. The arm's good and loosened up. I'm like, I got my best stuff now, right? I throw pitch number 1. And the goal for number 1 was just to, get a vibe, right? I'm gonna throw one. I'm going to try to pipe it, and I'm going to see what he does against it. This man hit a baseball far enough that if it was a car, he'd have needed to fill up the gas tank. I was like, I watched it go over the fence. And in Pensacola, in left field, there's no seats because it's fence. Then there's about 20 yards of grass. And then there's, I guess, a wharf. I don't really know what to call it. It's like a private dock boating area. All right. It's an inlet that on the other side, there's a bunch of houses and apartments, and it's just all boat docks out there, right? And then that's like 40 yards across. So it's like outfield fence is a regular, 315, 320 to left. And then there's about 20 yards of dirt or of grass, like a little park. And then there's about 40 yards of water. And then there's a bunch of boats. This man almost hit a boat with the baseball. So that's 420, 440. This man almost hit a boat with a baseball. And I'm like, oh, crap. So, now I'm in the mood, right? I'm like, okay, I know what he can do. I know what the bat speed is. I know what his swing style is. I'm good now. Second one, I'm like, I'm winding up. I'm giving him everything I got, and I'm taking it low and away. I gave him everything I got, probably misplaced it. It was like low center. This man hit the baseball to the same bleeping spot. I mean, probably landed within 5 feet over the first ball landed. I'm like, all right, don't go center low. So I'm like, let me go up top. So I bring heat up and away. Cracks it again. This one out to right field. Clears the scoreboard. Scoreboard's 900 feet tall. Clears the scoreboard. All right? I was throwing everything I had in the bag at this man. Now, again, I'm not in my prime anymore. I'm 34, 35 at the time, not even close to in my prime. But I'm throwing this man everything I got. I can actively feel the tendons and ligaments in my arm disintegrating. All right? Just feel. I am giving this man everything I got. This guy probably took 9 baseballs over the fence. I could not do anything. And this is a low-level minor league player. Now, there's obviously a world of difference between pitching in high school when you're in high school and pitching to professional athletes when you're a 34-year-old man. But I thought I had something in me. The point here was I thought I was going to go toe-to-toe with somebody who does that for a living, and I couldn't stand up to it. I wasn't even in the ball game. Edmonton Oilers, you're me, and they're that guy that took me 9 for 9 into a different county. Do not go up against somebody who is an expert in something and think that you are going to outdo them at the thing that they do as it. You're just not going to do it, all right? And that's what Edmonton tried to do last night. I'm not going to say on hockey all day, but I do love the Stanley Cup, and so you're all going to listen to it. As Adam Sandler once famously said, you're going to listen to every damn word I have to say. Last night, the Edmonton Oilers tried to play Florida Panther hockey. And not only did they get it worked, but they got worked and they got embarrassed. It would probably be one thing if you lost 6-1, but let's say half their fellas were missing a tooth this morning. It'd have been one thing if you lost 6-1, but 2 or 3 of them woke up in a hospital bed. It'd be one thing if you were up 6-1 and you knew coming into the next contest that they were battered, bruised, broken, and dispirited. You know what they weren't? Any of those things. Because you tried to play Florida man hockey. They won 6-1. They beat your ass in most of the fights. And they're hitting sellies before that, they do their post-game stick raise for the parent, and then they're hitting sellies on the ice after that. You made Florida feel like $1 gazillion. I'm going to keep it a buck. Florida in 5. They may not lose another game in this series. Don't go up against an expert and think you're going to keep up. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We'll do not hockey next.
Oh.
I thought they did. Actually, no, I think. Hey, guys, I'm going to put us away for this.
Ow. Was that necessary?
I'm doing a great job at my job.
That Rob Brown can sure spin a yarn.
If you're being sarcastic in saying, quote, Rob, really enjoy the way you tell a tale. If you're being sarcastic, then I'm in trouble.
Right, here's how I heard it. Great story, bro.
Again, I have no idea if that's legit or sarcastic because there's people like me who say bro as a genuine term of endearment to someone, and then there's people who only say bro sarcastically. I don't know if the text, Rob, really enjoy the way you tell a tale, is sarcastic. Like if I was sitting in a bar.
What if they said brother on the end of it?
Same thing. Bro is just old man or brother's just old man for bro. Like if you sit at a bar and you're telling a story of your glory days, and somebody looks at you and they go, yeah, I really love the way you tell a story, bro. Is it sarcasm? I'm going to assume it's sarcasm. But if they say, I really enjoy the way that you tell a story, bro, that's not I don't know. I don't know. So I'm going to take it for the sake of my own health and well-being here, Texter, that you're being sincere and genuine. In which case, thank you. That's my job. All right. We have talked some hacky. 6-1 Florida wins over Edmonton last night. Take a 2-1 series lead with game numero 4, numero 4, scheduled on Thursday. Get a couple of days off in the midst of this one before we play game 4 and take it back to Edmonton. I wanted to get to this. We have talked, obviously, about the fact that last Friday night, wonderful Katy Perry song. Last Friday night, the judge overseeing the House v. NCAA settlement accepted the updated settlement terms, and therefore House v. NCAA and all of the consequences hereunto after are now official. We know that one of the hereunto after consequences is Texter said sincere, I promise. Thank you, Texter.
That could also be considered.
That could also be kind of sarcastic.
For sure. There's no way. There's no way to know.
No. Sincere, I promise. We know that the House v. NCAA settlement has established the College Sports Commission. The College Sports Commission is going to be the new policy creating and enforcing arm of the NCAA. However, and this is I think one of, I'm going to say one of, I think this is the most impactful element of it. The College Sports Commission arm is actually going to be run by the conferences. We are talking about the Power Four and whoever else elects to participate in the future of college athletics. It is going to be run by the conferences, which I said yesterday on the show, I think is a solid compromise. I think it's a compromise because the only way that all of this is going to work the way that we hope that it works, that we are going to have rules, that those rules are going to be clear, concise, efficient, and most importantly of all, that those rules are going to be followed and enforced, is if the conferences feel like and the schools feel like they have some element of autonomy and control over all of them. Now, there does need to be, and this is just a brief editorial aside, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, there does need to be some level of athletes having a say in all of this. And I do think that while the schools and the conferences may very well sign some sort of document which says the commission abides and we will listen to what they have to say, we will follow what they have to say, and we will not fight back should we take any issue or umbrage with disciplinary action that they decide to take against us. The players, the athletes, the student athletes are not going to likely be obligated to sign any sort of documentation that says the same, and therefore they will still have the right to challenge decisions made legally. Now, hopefully, this enforcement arm basically creates a list of rules that are written out, tested out, thought out by attorneys, are proven as acceptable, and states across the United States that run academic institutions all say, yeah, we're good with these. On a state and federal level, we're good with these. Now, we're kind of going down the line into creating a bunch of hypotheticals. And one of the things that I advised people against doing yesterday, I did when we had John Blau on, I did when I was having some discussions on the internet with friends of mine and other various fans around the Sportslandio sphere yesterday. I said, one thing I don't want you to do. Don't work yourself into a shoot, brother. Don't fantasy book yourself into disaster and despair. Don't create a hypothetical situation in your mind and then accept it as the reality. Like, we got to let this thing go and play out a little bit. And I promise you, if there ends up being problems down the line, I'll probably be the first one in line to attack, right? But let's not go ahead and assume that something needs to be attacked yet. Like, let's get there first. So, one of the questions that a lot of folks had yesterday was, okay, if the conferences are going to have a massive say in what this commission looks like, how it is set up, who is on it, how it is run, who are they going to put in charge? Because my big fear out of the gate was going to be that there was going to be a college sports commission that was going to be run, to keep it simple, was going to be run by the conferences. And if the conferences are going to run a thing, who would they put in charge of the thing? Themselves. I was fully prepared. And again, weeks ago, because we kind of got an inkling that this wasn't going to be the case. But weeks ago, I was preparing myself for, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chairman of the new College Sports Commission, Greg Sankey. And I was going to go, inmates running the asylum, man, right? Like, you can't have the people who are being governed and disciplined by the governing and disciplinary body also be the governing and disciplinary body. But it turns out that's not who's going to be in charge. Former Major League Baseball executive Brian Seeley has been named the CEO of the new College Sports Commission. He was officially named on Friday night. Yesterday, they went ahead and confirmed all of that. Sources told ESPN that Seeley has been the target for that role for multiple weeks, and the long-awaited formalization of the House settlement triggered his official hiring. Sources also told ESPN that Seeley is expected to make seven figures in the new role, an income that is justified by the belief that Seeley is going to be one of, if not the most prominent figure in college sports. Seeley is currently MLB's executive vice president, legal and operations, and he brings investigative experience, according to ESPN, which they say, quote, will be key in this role. In the post-settlement era, the NCAA will no longer be in charge of the enforcement of most rules. It will still maintain purview over things like academics, but it will not patrol benefits. The CSC, the new enforcement arm of the NCAA, was created as coaches and conferences for a very long time, have been, and I'm going to use ESPN's word here, craving some sort of guidance since the advent of NIL. In a formal announcement, Seeley's job is described as having, quote, to build out the organization's investigative, and I'm going to get there, and enforcement teams.
But it's investigative, man. I've never
no, it's not.
heard
It's investigative.
It's not, but okay. Continue.
That's how I said it on the TV news, and they never got mad at me for it. So
Really?
yeah. So I'm gonna keep it up for now.
Okay. All right. Listen. It's probably a Florida pronunciation.
Yes, as we all know, we say things different down there in the Floridas. Sealy's job is described as having to, quote, build out the organization's investigative and enforcement teams and oversee all of its ongoing operations and stakeholder relationships. Per the release, Sealy, quote, and his team will also be responsible for enforcement of the new rules around revenue sharing, student-athlete, third-party name, image, and likeness deals, and roster limits. Sealy was hired by the 4 conference commissioners, the ACC's Jim Phillips, Big Ten's Tony Petitti. I can't not say it that way now.
I have a problem with that because
Petitti,
anytime anyone says his name, now I hear it that way.
Tony Petitti. Big 12's Brett Yormark and the SEC's Greg Sankey, who released a joint statement that says, quote, Brian brings unwavering integrity and a wealth of relevant experience to his new role leading the College Sports Commission and working to ensure a smooth implementation of this new system. We are grateful to have an individual with his credentials and expertise at the helm, and we look forward to his leadership as we transition into this new era of college sports. I don't off the cuff have an issue with the hire. I obviously, as I am checked in with the baseball world via my work with the BetMGM Network, is the host of Bet for the Cycle every Saturday from noon to 4, the nation's #1 baseball gambling show, if you ask my mom. Have been dialed in, and I kind of have an idea of Sealy's role within MLB over the past couple of years. Not super intimately, but yeah, I've been around. I don't really have an issue. I have taken issue with a lot of the decisions made by Rob Manfred, the acting commissioner of Major League Baseball. I have taken issue with other folks within baseball's power structure. Off the top of my head, I cannot recall there being a story or situation that Sealy has been involved with that I have had any sort of issue with. Now, me having an issue with a decision or two is not necessarily the end-all, be-all for his ability to step in and fill this role. I think the biggest story here for me is that you have a decision made by the Power 4 conference commissioners, those who will be ultimately in control of the CSC. You have a consensus decision. Now, anytime that college football has a consensus opinion, my gut instinct, as somebody who wants to believe that there is still good left in the world, is, hey, that's great. Wonderful. Everybody's on the same page. On the flip side, the larger side of me, the absolute jaded and cynical skeptic in me, says, is this a consensus decision, or is this a Big Ten and SEC decision that everybody else realizes that we don't really have the power to do anything else, right? Now, we saw Brett Yormark a couple of weeks ago during spring conference meetings taking place around America issue a press release in which he kind of chastised the Big Ten and the SEC a little bit. It got her under old Greg's skin there for a few minutes. But we haven't really seen anything that leads me to indicate that this wasn't a consensus decision across the Big Four. The problem with the NCAA for so many years, the reason that they have been labeled on this show a toothless and feckless organization, is because their inability to do anything that got everybody under their purview of power to say we respect it and we abide by it, basically led to them not doing anything for a very long time and creating a world where all of this became necessary. Had, as we talked about, the NCAA laid down the guidelines and all that at the beginning. And keep in mind, a lot of reason they didn't, because they knew if we start putting down guidelines, guardrails, rules, as this is developing, we are very well aware that the conferences and the individual schools within them will start pushing back litigatively. They will start pushing back in courtrooms. And the NCAA does not have a wonderful record when fighting it out in the courtroom. So, on one hand, yes, I will jump on board and say this is the fault of the NCAA. But I will also stick with a talking point I've had for a while, which is it's the fault of the NCAA because of the schools, because of the conferences. The NCAA was never going to do anything that it knew it would be taken in front of a judge over by the schools, by the conferences, by players, etc. There's no point when they get it hammered every time they go into a courtroom. There was no point in trying to establish a set of rules and guidelines that they and we all knew were just going to get challenged in front of a judge and were just going to get overturned anyway. So the only way this is going to work was to have some sort of disciplinary and enforcement arm that all the schools were on board with from the jump. And that's what this is. And now you bring in a guy who has been in charge of a similar situation in Major League Baseball. You bring in charge a guy who has been in charge of a massive multi-billion-dollar organization. You bring in charge a guy who has done some investigative work research in years gone by, and you place him into that role for college sports. Now, is that going to be good enough? Honestly, I don't know. But I'll say what I said yesterday again. Do not, and this is a thing that my wrestling bros all learn over and over again. Do not work yourself into a shoot, brother. Do not fantasy book yourself into a spot where your fantasy becomes your reality.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Do not book yourself into a fantasy that leads you to believe there is only doom and gloom on the horizon. And this is me saying this, let's let this thing play itself out, and then we can get mad a year from now when we see if it's working or not. Are some schools getting screwed or not? Is it being fair across the board or not? Is it getting it handed to them in courtrooms and therefore is pointless or not, etc. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, Water Cooler Cheat Sheet, 8 a.m., we're going to be joined by Chad Costello, the brand new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, doing his first one-on-one media interview with us here on the show at 8 a.m. So make sure you're here for that. Also, make sure you're here for the next 60 seconds. Your life will be better because of Lonzo Sports Flash.
He's pretty accurate about
Most
that.
of the time.
Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals was a 6-1 blowout in favor of Florida. The Panthers scored 2 goals in all 3 periods, with 6 different skaters contributing to the scoreline. That's a blowout. Game 4 is Thursday. The Atlanta Braves stopped a 7-game losing streak with a 7-1 win over Milwaukee last night. Chris Sale earned the win, going 7 innings, striking out 11, while allowing 5 hits and just 1 run. Murray State has punched a final ticket to the Men's College World Series in Omaha, earning a 5-4 win over the Duke Blue Devils. The double elimination finals start Friday with Coastal Carolina versus Arizona and Oregon State versus Louisville. Then resume Saturday with UCLA versus Murray State and Arkansas versus LSU. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show and the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet are coming up next, right here on the Fan Upstate. So I've never heard anyone say it that way. I'm pretty old, so there you go. No worries.
I'm your huckleberry.
Feel me? For real. Do you feel him, sir?
The Rob Brown Show is live. The far most electrifying hours in sports talk entertainment. Well underway. Rob Brown, the great Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number to the Hub City Spartanburger text line. 844-326-3663 is the number to call it and be a part of the show. You are not just invited to be a part of the radio program. You are encouraged to be a part of the radio program. That's the number to do it. 844-326-3663. You can also tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. Toss me a follow while you're there. You can also tweet Lonzo at Lonzo on Word. Toss him a follow while you're there. You can also tweet everybody at the station at thefanupstate.com. Toss us a follow while you're there. We would love to have you participate in any foray into the radio program. I'd also invite you, if you got something a little more long format that you would like to share with the class but do not want to get on the radio, you can email me, rob.brown at thefanupstate.com. Anytime, day or night, I don't care. And by the way, as somebody did late last night, and I did not get a chance to edit it down and get it prepared for the show today, so probably tomorrow, if you send me a voice note in my email, and it's hilarious, 1,000% I'll play it on the air. I don't know why I've never said that before. If you send me a voice note via email, record it into your phone, and then click share and email it to rob.brown at thefanupstate.com. If you send a voice note and it's good, I will play that on the air as well and respond to it. All right? So I'm giving you every possible way to be a part of the show.
You stressed a couple times if and it's good.
And it's good.
I mean, maybe, I don't know, you let somebody else hear it before you send it? Maybe.
Hey, we'll roll the dice, baby. Yeah, I mean, you'll know if it's not good, it won't get on the air. All right? So shoot me a voice note, go into your phone, record it on your phone.
But don't let it affect you. Don't think, man, I must really suck because I thought that was good and Rob didn't. He didn't use it.
I mean, listen, it's all subjective, baby. If you don't hit 1,000, it doesn't mean you can't go to the Hall of Fame. All right? Not everybody. I don't hit 1,000 with my takes on the show. All right? I bet like 999. I miss one every now and then. All right? So holla at your boy. Record a voice note on your phone. Email it to rob.brown at thefanupstate.com.
A voice note.
Yeah, please don't send me like a lecture. All right?
No, that's
I don't
not,
need a whole text talk.
You didn't say note.
What did I say? A voice no?
No, you said nut.
No, I didn't. I would never. The audacity.
You absolutely said
audacity. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:03 in the morning. You have less than 57 minutes until you've got to go to work. Gross. I got good news for you. The NBA Finals is ongoing. The NHL Stanley Cup Finals is ongoing. We are just a few days away from the start of the College Baseball National Championship Tournament in Omaha, Nebraska. There's a lot going on in the world of sports, which means, of course, you're going to be talking extensively today about the world of sports. And if you're going to be doing that, well, you need to know what's going on. And if you need to know what's going on, don't you worry. The Great One and I have you covered because every single morning we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"Oh no, don't start."
They take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
And it's the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with whoever you spend the workday with. When you do, this is what you will be talking about. Let us dive right in with item number one. Until they are over, the NBA and NHL Stanley Cup playoffs will hold the number one position in the water cooler cheat sheet. The same is true with last night's contest, an absolute demolition job of the Edmonton Oilers by the Florida Panthers. They take a 2-1 series lead, winning back-to-backers. They did not need overtime this time around. 6-1, your final. Brad opened the scoring less than a minute into the contest, put Florida up 1. Carter Verhaeghe would find the back of the net with less than 3 minutes to play in the first period. A power play goal made it 2-0. Looked like we might have a contest on our hands because Corey Perry was able to get one in for the Oilers just a minute 40 into the second period. But Sam Reinhart, 2 minutes later, said, "Nah, dog." He finds the back of the net off the apple from Verhaeghe. That made it 3-1. And then Sam Bennett said, "Yo, I'm not missing out on the goal-a-thon." Bennett puts one in at 7.5 played in the second period. At that point, it was 4-1. No one else would score again in the second period, but Florida would add 2 more in the third. They scored 2 in all 3 periods of action. Aaron Ekblad would find one 3.5 into the third. Evan Rodriguez on the power play with less than 4 minutes to play would make it the 6-1 final scoreline. This game was filthy. There was a lot of fighting in this one, like a lot of fighting. At one point, there were 5 fights going on the ice at one point. Like 5 different scraps. At one point, I looked up 5 fights going on, and hockey referees, as much hell as they receive from hockey fans, it's just kind of part of the hockey culture. At this point, I've spoken to some of the refs at the ECHL level before about it. It's just what you do. It just comes with the territory. They deserve a lot of credit because ordinarily they do a pretty good job at keeping the boys from removing each other from the gene pool unless it needs to happen. And then when it does, they do a pretty good job of being ready to throw themselves in between 2 gladiators to prevent anybody from getting truly messed up in a fight. There were 5 fights going on last night, and at one point I look up, and the referees are off to the side like, yeah, what do you think we're going to do here? There are 10 grown-ass hockey players out here throwing fisticuffs at each other. In what world do you think we're going to do? And if there's 3 of us, there's 10 of them. It was bad. In this game, the Edmonton Oilers committed 21 penalties. Florida committed 14. The Edmonton Oilers served 85 penalty minutes. The Florida Panthers served 55. Going back to the Eastern Conference Finals, Florida versus Carolina. We went into that contest, and I said there is one number that dictates this series. That number is 3. If the Carolina Hurricanes surrender 3 or more power plays to the Florida Panthers, they will lose this series. They will lose every game they give up 3 or more. And if they give up 3 or more in 4 games or more, they will lose this series. Well, my rule held true for, I think, all but 1 game. I came into this one saying it's not so much about the power play opportunities because it's their penalty kill and their power play are largely different groups. Not exclusively, but largely. So they can get away with a little bit more, Edmonton. But what I said was this was more of a vibes game. That is to say, Edmonton cannot play Florida hockey. They have to. They can be physical. They can hit. That is one of their strengths. But there is a difference between playing physical hockey. What is wrong with me? Playing physical hockey and playing Florida hockey. And I thought last night Edmonton tried to play Florida hockey. They tried to play bully ball hockey. They tried to get over-involved. They tried to take the cheap shots. They tried to get payback. and Florida fully understands exactly. There was a boxer, Roy Jones Jr., my favorite boxer, as far as I'm concerned, for my money, the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time. Florida plays hockey like Roy used to box. Now, I'm not talking in terms of cheap shots. Roy wasn't a cheap shot artist, but he didn't have to be. Roy used to do the rope-a-dope better than anybody since the great Muhammad Ali. Roy would let you back him into the corner, and he would drop the gloves down to the waist. And as you were throwing haymakers, it was like Roy could see into the future, right? You'd come with the jab with the left, and Roy would just lean to his left, and that hand would go right past his head. And then you'd come with the hook from the right, and Roy would see that coming, and he'd lean back against the post, and that right would connect with air. And then you'd come with the uppercut, and Roy would just dip the shoulder around it, and you'd uppercut and connect air. And you could see guys in Roy's heyday becoming increasingly frustrated because they just could not connect with a punch. And what would happen was one of two things. Either A, Roy's opponent would tire themselves out and be exhausted, and then Roy would come out and kick their ass, A. Or B, they would get so frustrated with the fact that they couldn't hit Roy that they would do something illegal. It just, out of sheer panic and frustration, they would throw an illegal shot. And if they throw an illegal shot, they lose a point, they lose a round, and Roy was a guy that you could not give up points and rounds to, not if you had any chance of winning the fight against him. That's Florida. They're just going to rope-a-dope you until you are either A, exhausted, or B, until you start reacting and doing the dumb stuff and giving them points. That's what Edmonton did last night. 6-1 your final. Edmonton trails Florida now in the Stanley Cup Finals 2-1. Let's go to item number 2. The Murray State Racers get the dub last night. On the road at Duke, they become just the 4th number 4 seed to find their way to Omaha. They went up against the home team on the road in North Carolina last night, and they get it done. A go-ahead home run in the top of the 8th inning. Duke gave themselves a run back, but were not able to climb back in. So Murray State punches the final ticket to Omaha, Nebraska for the Men's College World Series. So where does that land us? Well, the Omaha tournament, the finals start on Friday, and the schedule breaks down this way. We will open up Friday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. An underdog in Omaha, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. We all started the year knowing that if anybody representing the Palmetto State was going to be on the way to Omaha, it was Coastal Carolina, baby. Coastal will take on Arizona, who got by UNC in round 1 at 1 o'clock. We'll have game 2 Friday at 6 p.m. The Oregon State Beavers bounced out Florida State. They will take on the Cardinals, who eliminated Miami in their regional on Friday. Then we pick it up on Saturday. The Bracket 2 competition starts on Saturday when UCLA and the Murray State Racers go at it at 1 o'clock. 6 p.m. on Saturday, Arkansas and LSU meet up in an all-SEC matchup. On Sunday, we will have a couple of games. On Sunday at 1 p.m., we will have the losers bracket game of the Coastal Arizona game and the Oregon State Louisville game. The losers of those two games will play on Sunday at 1 p.m. The winner will be on their way home. We will also play the winners bracket game between the winner of those two games at 6 p.m. The loser of that game will play the winner of the losers bracket game in another elimination contest. The winner of that game will move on to the third round, where they will basically just need one more to win bracket number 1. Then on Monday, we will start with the elimination out of bracket 2. The loser of the UCLA Murray State game will play the loser of the Arkansas LSU game on Monday at 1 p.m. Then Monday at 6 p.m., the winners of those two games will play. The loser of the winner's bracket game will play the winner of the loser's bracket game in an elimination game on Tuesday. Then our brackets will be finalized with game 1 in the double elimination on Wednesday. If we need a game 2 between the two teams, those games will take place on Thursday. And then the Men's College World Series final, which will be a best of 3 between the winners of bracket 1 and the winners of bracket 2, will take place on Saturday next weekend at 6 p.m. Game 2 Sunday at 1:30, and should we require a game 3, it will be Monday the 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Let's get to item number 3. Don't need to spend a ton of time on this because, well, nothing has happened yet, but it does happen today. The Carolina Panthers mini camp. It is the first time the team at large will entirely be on the field together. Starts today. Minicamp starts this afternoon. It will run through. The next handful of days. We will then move to camp on April. It will run to big camp coming up in a couple of months. But minicamp underway. This is going to be quite a bit of the installation of the offense. So we'll talk with Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast coming up on Thursday about what he expects to see out of minicamp, what he expects to see over the next couple of days. This is the first mandatory minicamp. It will be today, tomorrow, and Thursday, and then we will have the OTAs. We will have the full camp in about a month and a half from now. We'll keep you up to date on what the next 3 days of installation looks like for the Cats. So that's where we stand right now with your water cooler cheat sheet. We'll be talking more about all of those items as the program rolls on. We have spent some time over the past couple of days talking about what the new College Sports Commission is going to look like. We have spent the last couple of days talking a little bit about Seeley, the new CSC chairperson, president, czar, emperor.
Lawyer.
I mean, he's not, but like...
He is, though.
He kind of is, though. There was an interesting article posted a couple of days, I guess editorial, from Pete Thamel on ESPN, where he asked the question, how would a proposed, I'm going to use his term here, CEO, dole out punishments in college sports via the CSC? Pete Thamel's got some wonderful ideas and some terrible ones. I'll tell you what I think about him when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, I got to step out for a minute. I got to load some audio. We will be right back. So we told you a little bit earlier this morning that, and we knew it late Friday night, we spent obviously quite a bit of time yesterday talking about the fact that late Friday night, the House v. NCAA settlement had been finalized and approved by Judge Claudia Wilken. Then we talked a little bit about the potential impact that might have on college football, college sports moving forward. We also found Friday night, though we did not get into it as much yesterday, that Major League Baseball executive Brian Seeley has been named CEO of the new College Sports Commission. Seeley, who is actively MLB's executive vice president of legal and operations, is going to step into the role of the guy who is going to run the investigative and the disciplinary arm of the NCAA, an arm that is of the NCAA, but is operated primarily by the power conferences. Primarily, we will see how and if and potentially why that expands or shrinks sometime in the future. Well, Pete Thamel has an editorial up on ESPN.com, and it's from a handful of days ago, and it is something that I read a few days ago, but as I do my best not to work myself into a shoot, brother, I didn't really get into it all that much, because while there was discussion that we might end up with a college football czar, there were people that were floating names like Saban to be the college football czar. And my primary takeaway was the concept of a czar won't happen in college sports. It won't happen even for just college football, because every school is out for itself. Every conference is out for itself. When you talk about the National Football League, all of the teams act as competitors with each other. But at the end of the day, the 32 owners of NFL teams, they all view themselves not as competitors. They view themselves as business partners. The NBA, the 30 teams act as competitors. But the owners of those 30 teams don't view themselves as competitors. They view themselves as business partners. They view themselves with the paradigm of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. College sports is not that at all. Michigan and Ohio State view themselves as competitors on and off of the field of competition. Michigan and Ohio State compete against each other for eyeballs, for dollar bills, y'all, for money, for clicks, for views, etc., etc. Now, that has shifted a little bit to some degree with television networks signing deals with conferences that are now much more financially lucrative than they were in years gone by. But I do believe that schools still see each other as competitors, and I'm even talking about in conference, Michigan, Ohio State, Arkansas, LSU. These schools see themselves as competitors for every single thing in and outside of the sports world. So, the concept of a czar wouldn't work, because at the end of the day, especially if it is perceived that that czar has any sort of pre-established relationships or connections with another party. If Nick Saban took over as the czar of college football, then anytime he made a decision that could even be slanted as pro-Bama or pro-SEC, obviously the folks in the Big Ten, ACC, Big 12, they would come out and say, whoa, this is biased. If you put Brett Yormark in charge of it, and he made a decision that came across as pro-Big 12, the SEC and the Big Ten would say, whoa, you're costing us money. We're not okay with that. The concept of a CEO is a little bit different. The concept of a CEO, and this is the label that Pete Thamel put on the job a couple of weeks ago when he penned this editorial. The concept of a CEO is different because a CEO is ordinarily supposed to be beholden to, responsible for, and serves at the benefit of the shareholders of the entity in question, right? If you are the CEO of a company and the profits for that company stall, tank, whatever, and the folks who are board members, the folks who are shareholders of that company look and they say, yeah, you're underperforming. You're costing us money. You're not even making us money. Then that CEO can be ousted for a variety of reasons. But that CEO can be ousted. That CEO can be moved on from. So the concept of a CEO of college sports, okay, cool. Now, you got to let me know who it is that he is beholden to. But I think in the case of the College Sports Commission, we know who he is beholden to. He has been beholden to all the members that play under the banner of the jurisdiction of the CSC. So Pete Thamel called it a CEO of college sports, quote, new enforcement organization. And he asked the question, how could a proposed CEO dole out punishments in college sports? And I found that question relatively interesting. Thamel writes in his editorial, according to sources, a vision of what this leader's role could look like and the extent of the position's powers is illustrated in drafts of so-called association documents that all schools are expected to sign to formalize the new enforcement entity. Basically, the schools need to agree they'll follow the rules. Remember, I issued a challenge to these teams yesterday, to these schools yesterday, to these conferences yesterday. That challenge was you all must work arm in arm to agree upon the guidelines, rules, guardrails, whatever you want to call them, put down by the CSC. You all must abide by them. And when they are inevitably challenged down the line by athletes, agents, representatives, advocates, whatever, you must all work together in order to defend them so that we don't end up where we were 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when all the legal challenges that led to the transfer portal, that led to NIL, effectively gained so much steam that even if you were right in opposing them, which I told you at the time they were not, but even if you were right in opposing them, there was so much momentum in the opposite direction that you were playing catch up while the folks that were putting these lawsuits together were on the forecheck, if you'll allow me to use a hockey term. They were playing advance, whereas you were playing catch up. And if you ever watched a NASCAR race, it's way harder to drive when you're trying to catch a dude than when you're out front trying to block him, right? So Thamel goes on to ask the question, what can the CEO do in order to enforce things, in order to make stuff happen? And as I read through the article, I came to the realization that, and I say this as somebody who, and I feel like I've done this like multiple times this week, but I also don't care. I got a lot of respect for Pete Thamel. I think Pete Thamel does a pretty good job covering college football. Thamel's stuff is regularly source material for this show. Thamel's stuff is usually source material for most local shows that do a heavy emphasis on college football. He does a good job. But as I read through this editorial last night and kind of figured out what Thamel was saying here, I came to the realization he doesn't really answer the question. He does put forward a lot of thoughts about what this proposed position, well, it was at least proposed when he wrote this editorial. Now it's a reality. But he did put down a lot of thoughts about this, what this proposed position might look like, about the powers that this proposed position would have, about the requirements for this proposed position, and what they would and would not be able to accomplish. But basically, Thamel's entire argument boiled down to exactly what I said to you yesterday. They can give him all of the power to make decisions about appropriate rules. They can give him all of the power to litigate those rules within the CSC. They can give him all of the power to enforce the rules and to even discipline in violation of the rules. But if everybody is not on the same page, if not everybody is signing these agreements, getting on board and saying, yes, we acknowledge, agree, and accept that this entity, this outfit, this organization, this agency is an agency that we will listen to, is an agency that we will respect, is an agency to which we will bow the knee. If anybody bails out of that, it all goes sideways. So he writes in here, quote, Purdue AD Mike Babinski told ESPN in March that the punishments need to, quote, leave a mark, end quote. And he mentioned the New Orleans Saints bounty gate sanctions as an example of the type of punishment that changed behavior. That, of course, after Sean Payton was suspended for the entire 2012 season as part of the penalties. I'm still mad about it. Shut up. He said, quote, we've screwed this thing up now to the point where we have to be willing to draw a line in the sand, and that will create some pain. There's no two ways about it, but we'll find out just who's going to insist on stepping over the line. But if they do, you got to deal with it forcefully and quickly. Sure. Great. How are you going to do that? That is what I was waiting for. That is still what I'm waiting for today. And obviously, again, this position has existed for one business day.
You're going to have to wait for the first violation to see what happens.
I don't disagree, but I also don't think it's a terrible idea to have a plan in place. By the way, shout out to, and I've never done this before, the Sports Center anchors. My dude PK Subban showed up with a big-ass cowboy hat today that, by the way, Zoe, I don't know if you've noticed this.
It's not a cowboy hat. It's that same kind of hat that you hated the other day.
I'm pretty sure it's on backwards. However, whether it is or is not.
It is on backwards, it looks like.
My favorite thing right now is that the two Sports Center anchors have just been rotating through dumb hats every time they ask them a question. My boy on the left has gone construction worker hard hat and is now doing like guy who owns a Cuban cigar factory hat. My man on the right opened up with a party hat and is now wearing like a Party City top hat. I love that they brought my dude on to talk hockey. He showed up in one of his hats and the anchors were like, we got you, dog. And they're now just rotating through silly party hats to openly mock him on the show. That's fantastic work. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Give me just a minute, guys. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. The Rob Brown Show is here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and y'all want to talk to. Oh, I'm about to be the old guy, man. I'm about to be the old guy.
Okay. Yeah,
It's rare for me.
You're not the old guy in the room, so that should help you.
No, it's really the old guy mentality. I'm about to adopt the old guy mentality because if you've been following along, and this is really it is a culture conversation. It just happens to be wrapped up in the world of soccer. Team USA football, American soccer, is set to host the World Cup the next time around. And one of the things that I think, even if you're not a big soccer guy, that is a consensus amongst most of us, is that we want our teams wearing the stars and stripes to be as good as it can be. We want it to be the best that it can be. We want it to go and represent us so that we can be proud of the team that we send to an international competition. At least I do. I mean, it's more fun for me when the team is good. So, what is happening right now with Team USA footy is not good. Not only have they been getting their tails handed to them in international friendly competitions, but there's a big debate going on right now as we get set for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Ordinarily, this would be a massive tournament because it would be the way for us to ensure that we are qualified for the world's largest sporting event, the World Cup. But as we are the host the next time around, we are automatically qualified. So this is really an opportunity for this team to get better, for this team to play together, for this team to find its identity, and for this team to build chemistry in and of itself. The problem is a lot of guys, including Christian Pulisic, who are meant to be the golden generation. That's what they're being called in the soccer world. What is meant to be the golden generation, guys are opting out. Guys are electing not to participate in these competitions that, at the end of the day, in all fairness, don't really mean anything to the prestige of U.S. soccer, right? Like if we win a Gold Cup, nobody really cares. They don't really do anything. We're already qualified. So a guy like Christian Pulisic has elected not to play in the Gold Cup and has cited exhaustion, fatigue from playing for his club, AC Milan, as the reason for opting out. Now, he's talked about having injuries, having to deal with injuries, having to deal with the lingering impact of a leg injury, still playing for AC Milan, but has basically said, without saying, these games don't really mean anything. So I would rather rest up, get my legs right, and be 100% for the World Cup. And my gut reaction to that has been, yeah, but like building team chemistry kind of matters, right? Getting out there with Gio Reyna and Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams and Jedi and all these guys that are going to play in it is kind of important. The thing is, a lot of those guys have started to opt out too. And so basically, the upcoming Gold Cup is basically turned into, let's bring in some of the depth guys. Let's bring in some of the reserves, some of the guys who are going to be substitutes, some of the guys that are going to be called upon to fill minutes, to be a reserve if one of the big guys goes off hurt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's an important element to this too. But there's a conversation ongoing right now about culture. I heard an interview yesterday with Furman's own Clint Dempsey. Dempsey, of course, was a stalwart of the last time that the U.S. men's national team was good. He was in that group with Tim Howard and Landon Donovan when we made a couple of those out of the group stage into and maybe even an advance in a game or two of the knockout round. And Dempsey was being asked about guys sitting out due to injury, due to stamina, fatigue, whatever. And Dempsey said, look, if you gave me the opportunity to pull on the sweater, the red, white, and blue, and go play, it didn't matter if I was dinged up, if I was hurt, if I was fatigued, whatever, I was going to do it. If there was a valid competition, whether it was the World Cup, the Gold Cup, whatever, I was going to go play. I was going to go be a part of it. If you gave me the opportunity to represent my country, there was zero chance that I wasn't going to take the opportunity to go represent my country. So, Dempsey's on board as saying, yeah, the boys should play even if they're dinged up. Dempsey pointed out that at one point, he suffered, when he was playing for Tottenham Hotspur, he suffered an Achilles injury. Not a full pop, but one that required some rest and rehab. And then he got called by then coach Jurgen Klinsmann, who said, do you mind coming and playing for us in some January friendlies, right? We want you in camp for some January friendlies. And he pointed out that January camp is ordinarily just stamina camp. It is installation. It is workout. It is see where you are and what you need to work on, blah, blah, blah. But he said, I'm playing. Doesn't matter. I'm playing if I get the opportunity. He said the first game that I played when I was coming off of that injury was that game where we played, I believe it was Haiti and Denver, and it was snowing its ass off. If you watch that game, you remember that game very vividly. It was brutal conditions. It was like 12 degrees. It was snowing so hard that they basically were sending guys out with shovels to try to clear the lines. Every time the ball went to the other side of the pitch, some guys would go out there, clear some lines, and then run off the field. And by the time the boys went down and back, those lines would be covered up again. I have no idea how the officials were calling like out of bounds and stuff. Everything was white. It was unbelievable. And he said there is not a medical trainer in the world that would have said that those were conditions that I, coming off of a leg injury, should have been participating in, but I wasn't going to miss them. So there's some call-outs now. The reason I brought this up, here's a clip from Tyler Adams. He is, of course, a USMNT player. He's a guy that's been with and on and around the team for a very long time. He was talking to the Men in Blazers podcast, and they asked him, is there a culture issue on this football team right now? And I have to change my speaker system back over, so I want you to sit in suspense for just a minute here while I do that. Here is Tyler Adams talking to the Men in Blazers.
Camp is not a place to spend a nice time, to play golf, to go for a dinner. That's not the culture he wants to create. Tyler, when you hear that, is that something that you feel? Is that something that has been missing from previous camps?
Absolutely. I think that the culture does definitely need to change. I think that we can't view going to the national team as a break from what we do on an everyday basis with our club. If anything, the mentality needs to be as similar to a club setting as possible, where you come in, you're competing with other players at a high level in order to get an opportunity to play on the weekend. That's what we do on a daily basis. That's how we grind it out. And I think that from a personal perspective, we need to go in and be willing to compete and suffer every single day.
So I have no issue with that at all. In fact, I honestly, I openly agree with it. I think that it is something that is important. If you want to establish that Team USA Soccer can be a global powerhouse, then I think it has to be treated as if it is a real thing, not as if it is a break from your real job. I think I would love a world in which players perceive it as a real job, right? Like they take it seriously. I do a bunch of extra jobs away from this business because I like being out there in the public. But when I agree to take on a job, whether it is emceeing an event or working with the Greenville Swamp Rabbits as their in-arena hype man or whatever, I throw myself into that job as if it is my primary job. That is an attitude that my old man instilled into me. But I also understand, like, I'm not getting shoved to the ground in that job. I'm not running 8 miles a day in that job. I'm not getting the hell beat out of me. So I'm kind of up in the air as to whether or not I agree with the concept of fatigue and injury being a reason that players for this international team would say, no, I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna take a little break. I'm gonna sit out for a minute. Landon Donovan who was working for the UEFA Nations League as a pundit, Portugal v. Spain, Portugal won on penalties, by the way, was asked about Christian Pulisic, who is the golden child. He's the one, right? Like, he's the guy that's, if we can't do it with Pulisic, it might be another 10, 20 years before we get the next guy that would go, okay, he's the one. Landon Donovan was asked about it, and he said, quote, "This is what it means to represent your country. This is what it means. And if you don't want to take this as a professional soccer player, as someone who gets the opportunity to wear that jersey and take it seriously and responsibly, then don't come in. This is what it means." Ronaldo is 40 years old. He's played a long-ass season. He's tired. He's out there grinding, hurt himself in the process, and I can't help but think about some of our guys on vacation not wanting to play in the Gold Cup. It's bleeping me off. Now, he did not mention Pulisic by name, but he was also probably talking about Yunus Musa and Anthony Robinson, other guys who have opted off of the Gold Cup squad. But this is very interesting. Christian Pulisic's father decided to ask ChatGPT to craft a response to Landon Donovan. And Christian Pulisic's father posted a screenshot of the ChatGPT response on Instagram. I'm not going to read it because it's ChatGPT, but it basically lambasted Donovan because if you will recall, Landon Donovan, while he was a member of Team USA football, took a sabbatical for his mental health. Checked out. In fact, checked out so much that it cost him a spot on the 2014 World Cup roster. Cost him a spot on that roster. He was not selected to be a part of that team. So here's where I've landed on the whole thing. I have landed on this. I don't necessarily know, and I'm going to say this with somebody who has great respect for Landon Donovan and what he did for Team USA football for so long. But first off, I don't know that a guy who, and by the way, I am very pro mental health sabbatical. If you are struggling mentally, if you are having a hard time getting your head into the right place, take a break. It's okay. Don't burn yourself out. It's work. You'll be fine. Take a break, okay? But at the same time, I don't know that Pulisic, a guy who took a mental health sabbatical, is the right guy to get in front of a mic and say, no, don't take days off. Like, you did that, brother. You were that guy. However, when this happens, and then Christian Pulisic's dad posts a response to Landon crafted by ChatGPT that he screenshotted to let us all know that was what's happening, calling Landon soft and all that. And then Christian Pulisic likes it on Instagram. And that becomes the big story. We got bigger fish to fry, man. We just do. Like, it's embarrassing. Honestly, it's embarrassing. This is the first time, probably since I started liking soccer in college around 2005 as a professional event that I watch, not just play out on a rec field every now and then. As somebody who is in love with Team USA soccer and supports it fervently, this is embarrassing. It's just flat out embarrassing at this point. Now, if a guy needs a break, guy needs a break. I understand that. I'm even good with that, I think. I'll tell you what I also understand. That they need to get it in their heads that you got about 5 to 6 more games max to play as a team to figure out who the hell you are and how you play well together. You got 5 or 6 more games. So if you got to take a break, you got to take a break. I understand it. But understand 2 things. Number 1, every game you sit out, even if it is for a very good reason, is one less opportunity we have to get on the same page and not embarrass ourselves in our own house on the world stage, A. B, it's an opportunity for you to get better that you don't get to take advantage of. And C, every time that you sit out like this and we end up having to have this whole discussion, it takes away from the opportunity to just get it right. And that's wildly disappointing to me. All right, we got to take a break because when we come back here in just a minute, we are going to be joined by the new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Chad Costello, in the building on the live stream. Chad's going to swing by. We'll spend a few minutes talking to him about where he comes from, who he is, his philosophy on taking the team back to championship levels. Speaking of championship levels, here's Lonzo's Sports Flash.
Up to the minute website.
So much for championship. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals was a 6-1 blowout in favor of Florida. The Panthers scored 2 goals in all 3 periods, with 6 different skaters contributing to the scoreline. Game 4 is this Thursday. The Atlanta Braves stopped a 7-game losing streak with a 7-1 win over Milwaukee last night. Chris Sale earned the win, going 7 innings, striking out 11 while allowing 5 hits and just 1 run. Pretty good. Murray State has punched a final ticket to the Men's College World Series in Omaha, earning a 5-4 win over the Duke Blue Devils. The double elimination finals start Friday with Coastal Carolina versus Arizona and Oregon State versus Louisville, then resume Saturday with UCLA versus Murray State and Arkansas versus LSU. Dallas Mavericks have made their plans to draft Cooper Flagg first overall in the NBA Draft Public. Flagg will work out with the team next Tuesday, and Dallas has no workouts planned for any other players.
All right, guys, we're going to step away while we get everybody set up. We will be right back. Off we go into hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo. And this time we're not alone, because joining us here on the radio program, making his Rob Brown Show debut, a place where you are going to be many times over the next year, and I apologize for that, Coach. The new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Chad Costello, joins us here on the program. What's up, big fella? How we feeling?
Great. It's good to be here, and you said it. I'll be here hopefully many times again, and love the energy.
We'd like to have you here. We'd like for you to, at some point, bring a big old trophy to sit it over in the corner for an interview. So, let's start working towards that. Day one on the job. How do we start working towards that, man?
Yeah, we got to get the roster dialed in and get the players as excited as we all are from, the move to Greenville here. So we have a lot of work to do, no doubt, but the trophy's on its way. I truly feel that way. We just have to take care of business to get there, So super excited to be here, like I said, and like you said, that's the final goal is the trophy, and good little spot for it down there.
Oh, dude, we're going to set the whole thing up. We'll hang banners. I need you all to know that was Babe Ruth calling the shot, all right? We're getting a trophy at some point. It's on the books now. Chad, let's talk a little bit about who you are, where you come from. You've been in the coaching game for a while. You spent a lot of time playing in the game as well. Introduce your folks to the folks of Greenville, the folks who are maybe just kind of starting to catch up with the Swamp Rabbits, or maybe haven't gotten the opportunity to hear from you with your media presser yesterday and all that. Take a couple of minutes to kind of introduce, tell your story to the folks of Greenville that we are going to use to fill the well next season.
Sure, yeah. I guess I'll start as a player. We won. We were in Allen there. We won the 4 straight championships. I was a part of the last 2 in the ECHL. A few MVPs and a lot of good stories, that's for sure, back in the old days. So I kind of transitioned from coach to player with a little stint in Germany in between. And I think it was 15-year pro career with 4 kids and a wife, all during that. So I went to college at Northeastern before that for 2 years. So, yeah, it was a great playing career. I enjoyed every second of it. And I went right into coaching after my last year. I kind of knew I was done. I was battling some injuries. So our coach didn't re-sign with the team, and a week later after retiring, they asked if I wanted to be head coach and GM, and of course I said yes. And at the time, our owner, he wanted to sell the team, so he said he's got good news. He wants me to be the head coach and GM, and the bad news is I'm going to be the only one on the staff. So it was a blessing in disguise, though, because year one, I had high expectations, but I don't know if anybody else did. So getting thrusted into all those roles as GM, head coach, assistant coach, video coach, power play, penalty kill,
bouncer, security,
sold popcorn, the whole deal. So it was. I wore a lot of hats, but getting thrown into the fire like that is probably the best way to learn as much as you can. So, and then we won the first round of playoffs my first year. We went from last to finish the division in second. The next year we lost first round to Boise. They had that team that set the records for most wins and all that. So we spent a lot of time in the Mountain Division, and obviously I knew about South Carolina and Greenville and all these teams out here. I knew it was a strong division. So, and then we get to last year. Last year I signed with Spire, and obviously they own Greenville and Troyes, so they just won the championship. And then Rapid City, and their coach was going through some health problems, so they asked me to take over the team. It was an interesting job. They were 4-16 at the time, so we went there and did some magical things. I think we finished 30, 31, and 32, which is a pretty nice little turnaround. And then this job opened up, and Spire filled the role with me. And like you said, day one, pretty fun.
Talk to me a little bit about the personal side of this. Got an opportunity to shake hands with your wife yesterday. She's lovely. You mentioned you have 4 kids. There's this interesting aspect to coaching, whether you're a player's coach, whether you're a discipline coach, a fundamentals coach, an organization coach, whatever philosophy you bring into it, you do have to be a hard worker. That is the one thing that is universal across all of those philosophies. In order to do that, I think you got to have a supportive family. You're not going to find a lot of coaches that are like, yeah, my wife hates that I do this job. So talk to me a little bit about the personal background, the family makeup, and how that all kind of fits into taking over for a team that, I think it would be honest to say we were all a little disappointed by the results last year and want to see that turnaround. So that's a big ask, especially for somebody who's got a family. Talk about kind of how that whole piece revolves around you.
Yeah, I think, I was blessed with an amazing wife, like you said, and she's probably more competitive than I am sometimes. It's crazy. She's keeps me honest and wants me to go after it, and reminds me of what I have as goals, and she does a great job. And we have great children. We have 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys, and the boys are in hockey. And I swear she reminds me that I early in my career I was a pretty good player. Had points and the numbers and stuff like that. But then I had my first son, and it was it really changed my game. It really did. It just knowing that he's watching me every game, how I act, how I lead, who I am as a player, who I treat people in the community, all that stuff. It really changed a lot about as children do. So that's really when I started caring about who I was as a leader and stuff like that. And it was kind of right around the time I became captain for the first time. And as far as philosophy goes, are you a player's coach? Are you a discipline coach? Are you whatever that time needs? That's what I'll be. So it's moldable as long as you believe in what you're doing. Other people will follow. So they're either on board or they're in the way. So. And we'll find out exactly which one they want to be here soon.
Chad Costello, new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, making his Rob Brown Show debut this morning. Let's talk a little bit about that. What did you know about this team when you were offered the job, when you decided to accept the job? What did you know about players? What did you know about culture? What did you know about staff? What did you know about Greenville, South Carolina? What did you have in hand that made you, A, say, this is a good job for me to take, and that you knew was going to be a working process when you got here?
Yeah, the first thing I knew is I knew that they're, you look at the roster, you know that the affiliation is strong. It seems like they're very hands-on, LA and Ontario. So I knew that was something that I haven't had before, and I always complained about. So I always looked for an opportunity where, you are seeing a lot of movement from players up above, and they are watching what we're doing down here and very hands-on. So that was something that really intrigued me. Obviously, the ownership with Spire, that was huge. I think, like I said before, they walked that line of being a super powerful ownership in our league, as well as being great people to work with. So those things were awesome and really intriguing to me. And obviously, just the hearsay of how good and nice the town is and the community is involved with the team, and they're spot on. Everything I've heard has been correct. So I also noticed that the team, in my opinion, had a lot of talent last year. And I'm not going to speak about too much about last year, but possibly a little bit of lack of character. And to me, that is something that I can fix.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because I think hockey is, and this is from a kid who, the only ice I grew up around was in a margarita on the beach. But as I've been around the Rabbits and some of the other teams I've worked for in my career, hockey does have this very unique culture in and of itself. And more importantly, every individual team has its own culture. We were talking earlier in the show about the Florida Panthers. I mean, you may hate the culture they have on the ice, but it's brought them to back-to-back Stanley Cups now. Building that culture is important. What's your process for establishing that culture, especially when you're going to have guys that have been here for a couple of years, you're going to have some new guys that are maybe just getting into the pro levels, et cetera, A, and B, what is that culture for Chad Costello?
Yeah, sure. I'd be naive not to say that, first off, you have the right personnel. You have to have the guys that are willing to buy in. Once you find the right personnel and you're comfortable with that, then it's time to dig in. And by dig in as a coach, I mean, you got to get to know them. You got to get to know what they want to do with their careers, what they want to do with their lives. Make sure they know that that's important to you, their personal goals as far as the season, and then turn those into goals as a team. What do they actually want to do here? And once you know what they want to do, and they see how important that is to you, all of a sudden, winning hockey games for you is important to them. I get to know them and their family. They get to know my family. I refuse to have a locker room where, kids aren't buzzing around after a win, and just a family atmosphere. In my opinion, is how we won championships in the past. And you said, the Florida Panthers. You said that. You may hate their culture or this or this or this. Well, that's because you may not be a part of it. But I promise you, if you're on Florida, you love it. And usually, you think of, baseball. Everyone hates or loves the Yankees. Or
hate, by the way, in case anybody was curious.
Hey, but and then you join one of those winning teams, and you're like, I had it wrong. I knew it. I love this culture, and it's a high standard, but a little bit of pressure. But we've said it before. That's what makes the game fun.
Chad Costello, new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. Talk to me a little bit about the coaching style as far as what we'll see on the ice. Do you keep it, hey, we want to be forecheck, we want to be very offensive, we want to be super physical on defense? Is it kind of a balanced blend? What will this team look like on the ice, puck drop the goal, when they take their debut under you?
Sure. Yeah, it's funny that you brought up Florida because in our Allen days when we were winning the championships, it was almost like you couldn't beat us. You may beat us once, no doubt about it, but a 7-game series in the playoffs, we're going to figure it out. Do you want to play rough? Do you want to play run and gun? Do you want to play a defensive style? Do you really want to take a penalty against us with a power play that's as potent as what we'll have? Just up for any task, I would say, because with video. And all the tools these coaches have, they're going to find a way to try to beat you. It's just being able to manage anyone's game plan at any time. Especially, the regular season is a little different because you see different opponents all the time. But for the most part in our league, you were going to play the in-division teams a lot. So by the time you get to the third or fourth game against that division or that team in your division, you have pretty well figured out. Yeah, I would say a team that's up for anything. But, yeah, we like to play fast. We like to play confident and make our plays, team first decisions all the time. And we like to, we never like to turn down a fight, and especially at home.
That's the line I was waiting for. Never want to turn down a fight. No, I think, again, like I look at these two teams in Florida and Edmonton. We were talking about on the way up. It was a damn near WWE pay-per-view last night, right? I think Edmonton ended up with 21 penalties and 85 penalty minutes served last night. But my breakdown on this show this morning was that's because Edmonton lost their mind and tried to beat Florida at being Florida, right? They tried to be a better Florida man than the guys who live in Florida, and that's a recipe for disaster. That tells me that Edmonton just was not locked into who they are, how they want to play the game, how they want to respond to Florida. If you sense that a team, and I'm not saying this will be something you have to deal with, but you're a head coach, so it will be something you have to deal with. If you feel like a team is maybe getting away from their chemistry and their identity a little bit and starting to try to play the other team's game or just play a game that's not theirs, how do you handle that from the bench?
Yeah, it's good that you notice that. That's not the style that Edmonton wants to play, and they'll admit that. But maybe it's the style they wanted to play right then. It's 5-1. That game's over. Maybe they want to. Maybe that'll lead to some a little bit of fun, a little energy. Maybe that will bring the boys together. In Rapid, we had a couple goalie fights. We had a player fight the goalie in the first shift of a midnight game. I mean, some of the stuff that you see that brings guys together. It's it's fun for the fans, but it's fun for the players too. So Edmonton's so well coached, and they got a good staff that they'll hit reset and say, "Hey guys, we understand it's a 5-1 game. We get what you're doing, but let's get back to our game plan. Drop a puck in the next game, total reset. They'll be ready to rock."
Chad Costello, new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate for a handful more minutes before he continues the media car wash all around town today. I think that I've been around this team for 4 years running now. I've served in some different roles. I'm the in-arena MC now, so I am on the glass every game. And one of the things that stood out to me about this team last year was it almost felt like they would hit some spots where puck doesn't come off the boards their way, or there's an early goal or whatever, and it almost felt like the energy left the building, like it was deflated. And I mean, the fans are going to respond to what's happening on the ice, but the guys on the ice are going to respond to what happens from the fans. There were spots where it just kind of felt like the team ran out of juice, like they did not have that. How do you, as a head coach, if you come out and Brad Marchand puts one up 56 seconds on the clock and it's like, oh crap, here we go again, what is your process for getting the boys back on the bench, slapping in the back of the helmet and saying, hey, like, let's get right, let's figure this out? Because that can be a tough thing to do, especially if you got, as you will in a hockey team, a bunch of guys from different countries and different backgrounds who maybe grew up playing different elements and styles of the game. How do you get everybody back on the same page? Because that is kind of what last season was, right? Like, I assume the boys in the locker room are saying that wasn't what we wanted to do or what we signed up to do. How do you, as a head coach, whether it's last season into this season or in a game when you give up a quick one or the puck bounces away you didn't expect it to and they take advantage of it or whatever, how do you get in their heads and say, Forget all that. Be a goldfish. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, first of all, the 4 years, we appreciate everything you do for the team, and it's awesome.
They pay me to show up and watch hockey, Coach.
Yeah.
That's easy to do, bud.
Yeah, well, awesome. Thanks for doing it. Yeah, I mean, it just gets down to who you are and who your identity is as a team. If you think that you're going to sign up for a sport and things are just going to go your way, then you shouldn't have signed up. You know, the test of the game, those bad bounces. How do we turn those into good bounces? You know, how do we turn this into a test of who we are as fast as possible? Hopefully, you can do it in game. You know, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes, hopefully not a month, but sometimes it takes some time to realize that we're being challenged. I don't know by what. It could be the team. It could be the bounces, the refs sometimes. So the travel, we will be challenged. It's what an opportunity to show exactly who we are as a team.
All right, I got to ask you an off-the-wall question here. Our afternoon show host, Cole Bryson, and I have been in this fight for a while. I have said that in sport, the concept of luck is an excuse for people who are unprepared to utilize so that they don't have to acknowledge I was unprepared. I've said that for a very long time. Cole Bryson's on the other side of the argument. He's like, hey, luck's a thing. You put the puck into the board. Sometimes it's going to go this way. Sometimes it's going to go that way. Is luck a real thing in sports, or am I right? And it's just something that underprepared people use as an excuse when they fail. You can be honest here. You won't hurt my feelings if you think I'm wrong.
Geez Louise. I mean, you look. I mean, look at the players that seem to light it up every single season. You know, are they just the luckiest people on earth, or did they prepare to get lucky? You know, and you got to prepare for bad luck too. I mean, like I said. I mean, can you win when things don't go your way? You know, look at like the Crosbys and Ovechkins. I mean, there's no way that they're just the luckiest guys on earth. There's got to be something to it. Now, figuring that out, if you can figure that out, I'm sure you'll be a rich man. I have not, but I'll keep working on it.
Love it. Also, that's the best way I've ever heard somebody not take a side in my life. That's fantastic. So when the coaching career is up, politics is right down the road, Coach.
Awesome.
Chad Costello, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, joining us for a few minutes here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Have you gotten the opportunity to interact with any of the fellas? I know they're kind of on break right now. We're working our way towards getting everybody back to get on the ice and start putting some practice time down, but have you gotten a chance to meet some of the boys, have some of the intro conversations? Are they excited about having you here? Who are some of the guys that you've gotten a chance to speak out that you're excited about coaching next year?
Yeah, I won't use names now. We'll get there. Just it's a weird time for our league. We can't sign guys till the 24th. So once we start rocking and signing players, we'll just start knocking them out, and I'll come back on here and tell you all about them. Some of them you're going to know, and we'll have some familiar faces, but we also need some new blood too. So and some guys I'm familiar with. I think the mix of people that are familiar with me and people that are familiar with Greenville, that's kind of the roster that we're going for now. I have met with two players yesterday. Great guys. They live here. They call this place home. So it was great to see two guys that really care about Greenville and the success that our team has. Now, over the phone, I've talked to at least 12 or 15 players, and there's still some to go. A lot of it is agent first, and then you get the green light, then you talk to the player. So we're walking that process as quickly as possible. There's no rhyme or reason to it now. We got, I think we had 30 players, a little more on our protected list. We'll talk to all 30 and see exactly how they're doing and what they're thinking, and then make our decisions how we're going to use them to win hockey games.
The obvious answer to this next question is damn good hockey player. But aside from that, what are you looking for when you're deciding this guy makes the cut, doesn't make the cut, give him a shot in training camp? He's definitely going to be putting the C on the chest. Like, what are you looking for in a hockey player to say that guy's a Swamp Rabbit for me?
Yeah, who you are as a person, how you carry yourself. Does the jersey matter to you? Everyone always says, "Oh, the name on the front, not the name on the back." Well, no, it's both. You gotta care about what people see when they read your last name. In the community, it's super important to our staff that the players are good in the community. But I do like a talented hockey player. I'll be honest with you. So, but we need a mix. We need guys that want to get, don't want to get scored on, and we need guys that want to score. So, and obviously, good goaltending is huge, as you know. So, we'll look at everything there is to look at and make our decisions, and we'll hit on some and miss on some, and we'll try to figure it out as quickly as possible.
All right, speaking of damn good hockey players, buddy of the show, Mark Benetti's in the building. Benetti, I need you right over there sharing that mic with Coach, because when we were doing the presser yesterday and we were wrapping up, I was talking with Benetti a little bit about you before I got the chance to shake your hand, and Benner shared a story with me that I was like, yeah, no, I'm putting you on the radio to tell that story to Coach's face tomorrow. Grab that mic and tell me, FCC compliant, Mark Benetti. Tell me the story you told me yesterday.
It's not a story. It's just it's a recall of a time long gone by for me. I was with the Rapid City Rush for 8 years, and my second, third, and fourth seasons, I got to watch Chad lace up for the Allen Americans. We played Allen anywhere from 10 to 15 times a year. And regardless of if the Rush beat the Americans or not, this guy would almost always have 3 or 4 points a night. It was not even close. Absolutely insane. And we had a heck of a playoff battle there in 15 when you won your championship. We were in round 2, went to 6 games, but it was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you kind of step back, and it wasn't just him too. I mean, that first year they won the title, he put up 125 points in the regular season, somehow wasn't most valuable player. That's an argument for another time, but it was Gregor Hansen, Gary Steffes, Riley Gill in net, Conrad Abelshauser, Aaron Jens, all these guys that, even Jack Holmes too when he was still there. I mean, those teams were just loaded.
I think my favorite part of that was the fact that yesterday you said this dude was, and I'll paraphrase, cracking skulls. So, I appreciate, Coach, I had a kid and the attitude shifted, and I totally believe you, but there's a little bit of that dog in there, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
There's a little bit of that dog in there.
Oh, yeah.
Chad Costello, new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, making his Rob Brown Show debut. Coach, my man, great to have you. Thanks for coming by. Wish you the best. We'll talk again before the season starts. More importantly, we'll talk after the season ends, and we put a piece of hardware in the corner for some good pictures in front of the logo over there.
Absolutely. We'll take a little shot out of it and get rocking.
That's my guy right there. Chad Costello, head coach of the Swamp Rabbits. We appreciate his time. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I was already in on Coach. I got the chance to meet him yesterday. And I was already in on Coach. But then Coach says, not only does he call the shot of, we're getting a trophy to the GVL, which I know there are some people that hear a coach say stuff like that and you're like, it's coach speech, or some people might say it's a little bit
what are they supposed to say?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want. You want your coach saying, hey, we're going to win the whole thing, because that's what they got hired to do.
Yeah, like that's what I want out of a guy. But then when I said, all I offered up was, when you get it, we're going to have you in to bring the trophy, put it over in the corner, get some pictures with the flag and the banners and the logo and all that. We're going to do some stuff. And my man said, not only, will we bring it in, but then we'll take it out and take some shots out of it. Like, I have been ride or die with the Bunnies since I got here. All right? I love hockey. I genuinely mean it when I say I do not think that there is a better live sport than hockey. I mean, live hockey, I'm going to commit an act of blasphemy and sacrilege in the South here. Live hockey is better than live football. Okay? Football's great. I'm never saying no to free football tickets. I'm never saying no to paid football tickets. I'm going up in September. Our good buddy Jack, P1 Jack, is a Bills guy. He and I have gotten very close over the last couple of years. Jack's a Buffalo fan. Jack's parents live like 2 blocks over from the Bills Stadium in Orchard Park. Saints are at the Bills in September, and so he hits me up the other day, and he's like, "Yo, Saints Bills, we're going, right?" I was like, "Yeah, why not? Hell yeah, we're going up." He said, "Are you going through a table?" And I went, "I don't know if I can still take a bump, but I guess we'll find out."
Come on, you're not. Don't do that.
We'll find out.
Okay, and I don't know the amount of liquid courage that it would take for you to do that. Don't do that. I mean,
listen, it's not me right
in
now.
the back of your mind, what somewhere in there, think rail slide. Just think what happened the last time you tried to rail slide, and that can happen again. You have a history of problems. Don't do that.
It's not me.
Now you could throw him through a table.
It's not me right now that you need to talk out of it. It's going to be me at about 10:45 a.m. on that Sunday that you're going to have to talk out of it. Point is, love live football, going up to New York, actually not even going into the city, like going up to upstate New York in September just to go to a game so that I can check out what Bills Mafia is all about and go see what I'm told is a fantastic NFL stadium. But for my money, there is not a more electrifying and entertaining sport to watch in sports than hockey in person. It's the best. And on top of that, I have said this before as well, there are 2 organizations, and I would now add the Spartanburgers to the list, that I genuinely mean it when I say embody community involvement more than any other franchise that I've worked with in my 17-plus year, the fall will be 18-year radio career. And the Greenville Swamp Rabbits are one of those teams. I love this team. I love the organization. Todd Mackin, Tim Vieira, VP of Spire, all the way down to the president of the organization. Lordo was great when he was the head coach. Kyle Mountain, I'm sorry it didn't work out because I love Mounts. Mounts was a great guy. Mark Bonetti and I are text during hockey game buddies now. Like, I love this staff, this organization. I think they do a fantastic job, not just at hockey, but in terms of being established into the community. They have told me multiple times, you guys do a lot for us. We want to be able to do a lot for you. You call the shot, we're putting somebody on your show. Like, they've been fantastic. And now we got a coach. And again, I really did like Kyle Mountain quite a bit. In fact, I shot him a text after it was announced that they were going to be going in a different direction. Told him, man, I'm sorry it didn't work out. You were fantastic. Thanks for everything. He was very kind and gracious about what happened. But you just brought in a head coach who opened with, we're getting a trophy, we're bringing it to Greenville. When I said, all right, the obvious answer to the next question is hell of a hockey player, but what are you looking for in somebody to come represent the Swamp Rabbits on the ice to be a player on your roster? And he gave a list of great answers of what he expects in terms of mentality, in terms of physicality, in terms of being goal-oriented and performance demanding, etc., and then ended it with, but also I'm a fan of a damn good hockey player. And then when said, we got to get you in here with the trophy, said, not only will we, but we'll bring it in here, we'll make the pictures, and then we're taking it out to go get some shots out of it. That's my guy. I am bought in, dude. I've been bought in with this team, again, for like 4 years running now. But that was fantastic. That was fantastic. So thanks again to Mark Benetti and Justin Beneker came by. Thanks to Chad Costello, head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, for taking some time. Let me tell you what that guy's up against. He did a full day of media yesterday. He was coming in this morning. He's going from here to the local TV station. By the way, we were the very first one-on-one interview we did. Thanks for that. Going to the TV station. Going to, I think, another TV station. Then he's got like 2 newspaper interviews after that. And then my man's getting on a flight with his wife and 4 kids to go home and finish getting all their stuff packed up to move here. And he said, yeah, I'll come in. What you want, half an hour? I got you. So thanks again to everybody for organizing that. And see you in October, bunnies. Can't wait. All right, when we come back here in a minute, got a few more things that I want to get to. We'll talk some more hockey. The Braves won a game! Ah! 7 L's in a row. They finished it off last night. I'll tell you why. I don't care. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Mark thought that bass player thing was hilarious. Because I was over there talking to him, he's like, yeah, I went to see Billy Idol. And you were on stage. I was like...
Wait, so he actually went to go see?
He was at that Billy Idol concert, yes.
Okay. Where was Billy Idol?
It was in Nashville. When Mark was on vacation. That's where he was. Usually when he goes on vacation, if there's a concert there, he works around a couple concerts.
Was that Lola Vice tagging with Stephanie Vicaire?
Yes.
Okay.
It was very good. I
mean,
mean,
I'm watching.
their part of the match was good. The people they were going up against,
not so much. One of my degenerate buddies sent me a Instagram reel of the double devil's kiss, and I was like, I gotta tell you, I didn't recognize who it was because it's literally just a clip of that. I was like, old blonde girl on the right is maybe doing it better than Stephanie does.
That's sacrilege. No, it was Lola. She did decent.
It checks out that that's Lola. It 100% checks out with the body contortion of
Her
which
hips
I
don't
discussed.
lie. Yes.
Yes, the hips don't lie.
One thing that does need to be fixed if you're going to use that camera pointing in that direction was the lighting was not good.
Yep, I needed to drop those blinds,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize it until we had already started, so I couldn't do anything about it.
You could have pointed to them. I would have got it. I would have lowered them and like broke everything in the windowsill when I did it, which would have been pretty bad. But you know. So for the precious helmet, I would have dove to save that.
After Helmet Gate 20.
Yeah, don't go too far there. I'd said enough, I thought. Was that 24 or was that 23? I don't know, man. Time goes by so fast.
And time goes by.
Did that storm hit up here or where you live yesterday? It was mean where we were.
Yesterday, no, day before, we got blasted.
Yeah, we lost power for a couple seconds yesterday. That was in the middle of playing the game, which, when it's lightning and thunder, you probably should turn the game off. I had just saved, and boom, everything went bye-bye. Just another clever way of finding a way for Cena to win, James. But that's fine. He's a heel. He's supposed to find heel ways to win. I was rooting for Cena yesterday. Never going to root for Punk.
Gotta imagine.
Also, very happy that Rhea Ripley lost again.
The Bravos go on the road, snap a 7-game losing streak in the first contest of a 3-game set at the Brew Crew of Milwaukee. My response, cool. That's it. That's the take.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's probably the most apt usage of that soundbite since that soundbite was added to Zoe's roster.
So your heart is irreparable. You cannot get it back. You can't get to the point where you're going to root again. I mean, what would it take?
About a 20-game winning streak.
So 10 wouldn't do it for you. 10 wouldn't spark something in there.
No, I want you to be aware that this team. First off, this team ain't going on a 10-game win streak. However. This team right now is 13.5 games back in the division. I mentioned this last week.
Are we halfway through the season yet?
That is.
No, I'm just asking a question. I don't no reason.
If we get to 250 miles of a NASCAR race and a guy is 4 laps off the lead, nobody goes, well, the race is only half over.
Dude, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing because they can come back and at least get a wild card because other teams can.
No, they can't.
If you're 4 laps down in a NASCAR race, you are not catching up.
Here are the teams that currently have fewer wins in the National League than the Atlanta Braves. Okay? Keep in mind, this is the whole list. The list of teams with fewer wins is Colorado, the worst team in the history of Major League Baseball. They have 12 wins right now. It took them 3 months to get their 10th win. They're the worst team in the modern era of baseball. They might be the worst team in the history of baseball. This team is going to not set the record for most losses. This team is going to shatter the record for most losses. The Pittsburgh Pirates have fewer wins than the Atlanta Braves. You know the Pirates team that right now the conversation is, should they trade rookie Paul Skeens? Because they're clearly not going to accomplish anything with him. And basically all they're doing is wasting a point in time where this man is going out and turning holy bleep, that guy's a rookie performances into losses. The Pittsburgh Pirates have 1 fewer win than the Atlanta Braves. And the Miami Marlins. That's it. That's the list. The Braves are 4th from the bottom in the National League, and they are 1 spot away from being 3rd at the bottom in the National League by 1 game to the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that right now, the most vocalized conversation in baseball is, should the Pirates be forced to sell the team? Like, that's the conversation right now. Should the Pirates be forced to sell the team? That's how bad they are.
You know what I don't understand? I don't understand the people, oh, you're wasting his time. Hey, they drafted the guy or however they got him there. That means he plays for that team. If he stays there his entire career and never wins, I mean, they do have free agency in baseball eventually, right?
Yeah, he's got 3 more years.
So for 3 years, hey, you're there. I mean, you were drafted there. There is no wasted talent.
Oh, that's just wrong.
No, that's the only draw they have, right? So that means that talent is not wasted. So if people do come to watch them play, they come to watch him play. So that talent is not wasted. They're using that talent. He may not have talent anywhere around him, but that talent is not being wasted.
If if you have like a favorite old swimming hole, somebody buys that swimming hole and they show up and they cut all the trees down and pour concrete into the hole, and they go, we're building a parking lot here. They would say, we're not wasting this spot, but you would go, what the hell? You're taking a piece of art and beauty and you're just blowing it up for nothing. That's what this is. The man can't win games because, much like Chris Sale and the rest of the Atlanta Braves staff, nobody else on that team is worth the name right now. And B, you don't know if Paul Skeens three years from now is going to be Paul Skeens.
So every good player on a bad team should be allowed to go somewhere else. Every good or great player or elite, which you were going to say, on a bad team should be allowed to go somewhere else. Or should they play out the contract that they signed, or hopefully...
No. Let's be clear. This isn't an argument that the Pirates should be made to trade Paul Skeens. This is an argument...
I have heard some people say that on the air.
Okay, fine. I'm not one of those people. All I can speak for is me, and all I can say is this is not an argument that the Pirates should be made to trade Chris Sale. This is an argument that the right thing to do would be trade Chris Sale. But let's not, or not Chris Sale, to Paul Skeens. But let's not go down that path right now.
But the right thing to do for who?
For baseball. Sometimes the picture's bigger than you. And I know that that's a unpopular American sentiment sometimes.
Why is that an unpopular American sentiment?
The thing that you are involved in is bigger than you, and you should act for the good of all, not the good of just you. And the Pirates are not doing either.
Are you trying to be globalist?
I'm being philosophical.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, this is a pitch for sports buddyism. But I'm not. I don't want to talk about the Pirates. I want to keep talking about the Braves. I don't want to talk about the Braves. I'm obligated to talk about the Braves. So, I've got a baseball team here that is third from the bottom in the National League. If I was to continue and discuss the entire league, here are the teams that are worse than the Braves across the entire league. The Braves are 28-37. The teams with fewer wins are the Rockies, the worst team in history. The Pirates, a team that is being discussed right now as baseball should step in and remove their ownership because it's just been this for 2 decades now. The Miami Marlins, same thing. The Oakland Athletics, who are, by the way, not just not in Oakland, but are now playing in a minor league baseball stadium in a California city that I can't remember because the team's irrelevant. Why? Because their owner, Jed Fisher, has basically said, I'm not spending a dime so that I can keep as much money in the bank while I move this team to Las Vegas, Nevada, and take billions of dollars away and sell a bleep franchise. They have 2 fewer wins than the Braves. The Chicago White Sox, the team that we thought was going to be the worst team in baseball and are pretty close to it. They have 22 wins, have 6 fewer wins than the Braves. The gap between the White Sox and the Braves is half of the gap between the Braves and the Mets. And the Baltimore Orioles. They are the other team on this list that is shocking that they are on this list. There is no reason for this club to be this bad, although they are battling a rash of consistent injuries over the last couple of years. So, the excuses for the Braves are gone. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back. He's still hitting big dongs. Had a big dong last night, did Ronald Acuna Jr. Went big dong in front of all of Milwaukee. You got Spencer Strider back. Unfortunately for the Braves, Spencer Strider's cooked. if he's ever going to get his velo back, his velocity back on his four-seamer, is probably a year to year and a half away. Most guys who have Tommy John, there's three possibilities. Number one, they're just never the same guy. 2 years later, they're out of the league. Number two, they get back to it, but they have to change everything about who they are. Spencer Strider was an overpowering four-seam guy. He was going to throw 98, 99, 7 innings into the game, and he was just going to blow you away. Or option three, they get their stuff back, but it's usually a year and a half before they do. Spencer Strider ain't going to be the same guy, at least not this year in a year that it matters. You got Chris Sale, who is 4-4. In 3 of Chris Sale's 4 losses, he either had or was one away from double-digit strikeouts. He either had or was one away from giving up 3 or fewer earned run in those games. Chris Sale is constantly giving the Braves lights out performances, and they are constantly rewarding him with making him take L's because they can't hit the ball. Your manager's asleep at the wheel. Your general manager, who gets all the credit, and I'm fine with it, for winning the 2021 World Series, has not only not made any moves this year, but now you got guys. Craig Kimbrell got caught. He was at Gwinnett. He was playing pretty well. Now, in fairness, Kimbrell last year had a miserable season for a 9-time All-Star. I think it was like 7-5 and had an ERA that was closer to 4 than 2. Not a great run for Craig Kimbrell. Trying to recapture his form. Agreed to come back down to the Braves. Went to Gwinnett. Was pitching A-OK in Gwinnett. They called him up to the Bravos. He pitched a scoreless inning. You remember that game last week where the Braves were leading in the bottom of the ninth and they got walked off in 10? You remember that game? That game that I came in here and lost my mind about the next day? Yeah, he pitched a scoreless inning in that, and then they DFA'd him. Well, actually, they wanted to reassign him back to Gwinnett, and he said, you know what? After literally 1.5 days on this roster, I would quite rather be a free agent than go pitch in your AAA club and try to earn my way back onto the roster. Because you're keeping Rafael Montero and Raisel Iglesias, 2 guys that have been trash on this roster ahead of me. Yeah. When you got a guy like Kimbrell, who is trying to have a career renaissance, who decides he would rather not be on a roster than stay within your program and try to earn his way back to the big show, that tells me you got a problem. Look, all I'm saying is this. I got online last night, and I will acknowledge that I am a doomer, and it's not even doom and gloom anymore. I used the example last week, and the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, I nailed it. Remember that movie 2012? That Apocalypse movie? Remember Woody Harrelson's character in that movie? And for the first third of the movie, he's like this weird guy living out in Yellowstone in an RV, and he only talks on ham radios, and he's got all the rations and all that. And the whole first half of the movie, it's just everybody making fun of this guy for being an apocalyptic doom and gloomer. And then the apocalypse happens, and everything he said was going to happen turned out to happen. Again, it's a fictional movie. Chill out. But all the things he said was going to happen happened. And then there's this transformation where he's standing out on a mountaintop, and he's trying to help. Wasn't it John Cusack? I think it was John Cusack. Trying to help John Cusack and his family get away, and the apocalypse happens. Do you know after the apocalypse starts, what doesn't happen to Woody Harrelson's character? They don't keep referring to him as a doom and gloomer. Why? Because everything he said was right.
And the majority of the earth are dead.
Well, there's also that. But the ones who aren't dead, don't call him a doom and gloomer, because all the things that he said would come to pass came to pass. And when all those things came to pass, he wasn't a doom and gloomer. He was just a guy who said what was going to happen. That's me. I'm Woody Harrelson. Okay? I stood on the brink, and I turned back to you all, and I said, they're broken. This is irredeemable. It is the Atlanta apocalypse. It can't be fixed. And you all said, Rob, you doom and gloomer. One of you called me an Atlanta fear merchant, which I have to acknowledge I thought was amazing. One of you called me an Atlanta fear merchant.
You guys are really smart. Most of you. There's a couple people, but most of you are pretty smart.
Yeah, that was a pretty good nickname. I like that one. You called me a fear merchant. You said, Rob, you're just dinging the Braves for clicks. Despite the fact that not only have I never utilized my platform for clickbaity takes, I have actually gotten into fights with coworkers who massage the truth.
Not physical fights, because,
Close. For clickbaity takes. Never been me. I stood on the edge of the Atlanta supervolcano and I said to you all, the apocalypse is nigh. It is over. The championship window has shut. It is slammed. It is done. It is cooked. And you all said, Rob, you're just trying to get people to react to you. I now stand and I point at the wreckage, at the billowing smoke, at the flames in the distance, and I say, I have given up hope. It is just time to accept our impending doom. As Braves fans, baseball's fun. Texter said, Rob, so if the Braves get a buttload of big dongs, could they turn this thing around? No. Big dongs are irrelevant. They cannot turn it around, no matter how many big dongs they have. I said all those words, and now I'm going to say, Lonzo, time for a sports flash. Hit a bing dong caliber sports flash.
And now for something completely different. The Atlanta Braves stopped a 7-game losing streak with you wouldn't know from the last segment, but they actually won 7-1. They won big over Milwaukee last night. Chris Sale earned the win, going 7 innings, striking out 11, while allowing 5 hits and just 1 run. It's a win, people. He's just so negative. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals was a 6-1 blowout in favor of Florida. The Panthers scored 2 goals in all 3 periods, with 6 different skaters contributing to the scoreline. Game 4 is this Thursday. Murray State has punched the final ticket to the Men's College World Series in Omaha, earning a 5-4 win over the Duke Blue Devils. The double elimination finals start Friday with Coastal Carolina versus Arizona, Oregon State versus Louisville, and then resume Saturday with UCLA versus Murray State and Arkansas versus LSU. Hour number 4 of the Rob Brown Show is next, right here on the Fan Upstate. I can't remember. Was it from Bug's Life or from Ants, where the one ant gets out of order from being and is screaming, "The end is near! The end is near!" I got to find that. That might have been Ants. Okay, the internet thinks that I'm trying to find out the actual ant apocalypse. Maybe it wasn't an ant. I know it was in one of those. James, I am a broadcast professional. Or it says so on my press pass. Although anyone can make one of those, probably. I don't know. If you're really good with laminates.
Medications such as aspirin products
Maybe he didn't say that. Maybe he said all is lost. I don't know. I can't find it, though. That's weird because I'm pretty sure that was Ants. I don't think it was Bugs Life. Buffalo Stance. Look it up. I'll have to remember who sang it. It was Buffalo Stance.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663 is the number. 844-FANFONE. That is the Hub City Spartanburger text line. Shoot us a text at 844-326-3663. You can also call that number and jump on the air if you'd wish to do so. 844-326-3663. I messed up my sixes and my fours there. 844-326-3664 is the number to text the show, to call the show. You can send me a tweet at The Rob Brown Show. You can send Zoe a tweet at Lonzo on Word. If you are texting everybody at the store, tweeting everyone at the station, hit me up at The Rob Brown Show, at the Fan Upstate. I can do this. Sorry, I'm getting the interview ready to post right after the show that we did earlier. The first one-on-one media interview with new head coach of the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, Chad Costello. Phenomenal interview. If you missed it back at the opening of the last hour, check out the social media. I will have it up and posted shortly after the conclusion of the radio program in about an hour from now. If you're a hockey guy, if you're a Bunnies fan, you're going to want to check this out. It's going to be, I think, very interesting moving forward. I'll tell you what we're going to do here. We're going to do a little bit of the audio blitz, some of the best audio we've picked up over the last 24 hours. Let's jump right into it. I think that automatic balls and strikes being adapted into Major League Baseball next year is going to go a long way into fixing some of the issues in Major League Baseball. One of them, as I have made no secret about, is that a lot of the umpires in Major League Baseball are not good at their jobs. The unfortunate part is not even that a lot of the umpires are not good at their jobs. The problem is that some of the umpires are not only not good at their job, but they're Charmin soft. I would go so far as to describe them as SAWFT, soft. Like, for instance, the umpire yesterday who was officiating the Chicago Cubs game. Nico Horner was at the dish. Nico had already been called a strikeout on a pitch in his first AB that was definitely outside. Not like a questionable call that maybe caught the rubber. No. It was outside. You know how I know? Because the K-Zone technology has been in play for a very long time and we can just see it. Well, this audio is you're gonna have to dial in because it is an ambient field mic. However, Nico Horner turned around and had one sentence for the umpire and was immediately ejected from the game. I screwed up last week, Lonzo. I'm on top of the game this week. All right.
It's an ambient mic. If you say you've got to listen really hard, it means you could have missed something. Go for it.
Let's find out. So, what you heard there was Nico Horner, after he struck out, turning around and telling the umpire, and I quote, "You're having a really bad day."
Okay, I'm glad you're quoting this because I could. All I heard was that nasty bass line.
Yep. Quote, "You're having a really bad day." And before he even got turned back around, the umpire ejected him from the game. Out of the dugout came Cubs manager Craig Counsell. Craig Counsell's a legend of the game. He was a phenomenal player back in the day, was also the manager of the Brewers until 2023 when he switched divisional teams and went over to Chi-Town, Illinois to take over the Cubbies. He, of course, expectedly, came sprinting out of the dugout asking, why? And as he did, Nico leans across the umpire and says to Craig Counsell, all I told him was he's having a really bad day. Craig Counsell then says to the umpire, that's it. That's nothing. There's nothing there. And the umpire goes to eject Craig. Now, Craig puts the hands up and backs out because he needs to be on the field. It was a close game. But a baseball player told an umpire who had rung him up on consecutive, clearly would have definitely won an ABS challenge on both of them, told the ump, you're having a bad day. And before he even got turned around to head back to the dugout, the umpire tossed one of the most important players on that team out of the game for the audacity that he said of, you're having a really bad day.
Okay, I'm just curious about this, and I'm not taking a side here, but arguing with the umpire, what does that do? I mean, I get that you're saying I am displeased with your job, but what is the end result going to be? What is the best thing that can happen? The best thing that can happen when you argue is that you get to go back to the dugout. The worst thing, which always seems to happen, is you get to go back to the showers. I mean, I don't understand what you think will be accomplished by turning around and arguing.
I've made that same point for years that I think one of the dumbest things in baseball is managers coming out of the dugout and getting into like straight up screaming matches with the umpires. But the answer is, and I've had this conversation with managers before, right? Where I've said, like, why do y'all do this? You've literally in the history of Major League Baseball, there has never been, not one time, there has never been a manager that has came out, got into a screaming match with an umpire, and won, right? Had the umpire go, after being screamed at in my face by the manager, I'm overturned. It has not happened. Now, we did actually, and I do think that this is an important one to bring up. We actually did have an umpire overturn the call the other day in a White Sox Baltimore game where there was a foul tip that went straight down into the dirt. The umpire, it went down to the dirt. Popped up, catcher picks it up, throws it over the first. Umpire calls him out. Then as the umpire turns around and like kind of watches the play, he stops and he overturns his own call. He goes, nope, stop. I blew it. I got it wrong. He's safe. He's going to stay in the box. The Baltimore manager was on his way out to argue the call. He stopped and was like, whoa. I don't have to fight you. The White Sox manager came out of the dugout and was like, wait a minute. You called him out. Now you're calling him safe. And the White Sox guy, the umpire looks at the White Sox manager and he goes, I know. I blew the call. I got it wrong. I'm fixing it. White Sox guy like, no, you got to go with the regular call. He's like, no, I saw it wrong. I thought I saw something else. After reevaluating what I saw, I'm overturning the call. By the way, the overturn was 100% correct, confirmed by multiple cameras pointed at the plate when it happened. So the record is now 1 and all the rest of them in terms of umpire overturning call. The reason that, because I've asked managers this before, the reason that you argue is really twofold. For a manager, it is not only making sure the umpire is aware, we see you, dog. We see you. When we will go ahead and write this up as a problem that we have, A. B, trying to guilt them into getting it right from this point forward. And for many managers, it really is just a matter of getting the boys in the dugout hype. My manager is metaphorically going to bat for me right now. He is out there laying it on the line for me right now. It's just a psychological thing. Does it work? I don't know. That's probably manager to manager.
So you see this, and it's not just managers, it's also players. You see this in baseball and you see it in basketball. Do you really see it in the NFL?
Yes! Yes! How many times have we had a wide receiver have a missed pass and come up going, I'm dramatically and enthusiastically doing the pass interference call. How many? What?
Don't you wish you could do push-ups that fast?
Yeah. Game 1, week 1, opening day, I guarantee you by the end of the first quarter, we will see a receiver not catch a ball and get up and go.
You know what you'll also see? You'll see them get back to the huddle in time to hear the
and you know what you're seeing when a basketball guy looks at a ref and puts his hands out? Him running back to defense.
No.
This is one of those spots.
That's not always the case.
This is one of those spots that I understand everybody wants to go.
The LeBron haters would say that never happens, that he just spends the whole time while complaining to the ref while the rest of his team is down there playing.
Cool. Would you agree with him?
On occasion, yeah.
No.
Yeah, on occasion, for sure.
Anyway, the point here is I get that you're trying to place football upon the pinnacle, and I understand that.
Well,
but
it
no.
is, but
no. It's hockey if you want to get into it. Hockey bros never do this crap. They just go to the other end and punch the dude in the face. So if you want to put something on a pinnacle, you put the respect on hockey.
They don't punch the ref.
No, but they'll punch the guy who did the thing.
Yeah, well, okay.
So if you want
I don't know, do they complain in soccer? I guess probably games that are continuous, it's hard to complain to the referee.
You mean like basketball? Or does that not count?
It's not continuous the way soccer and hockey is, I don't think. Basketball, one guy can take a play off and complain the entire time. I don't think you can do that in soccer, and I don't think you can do that in hockey.
There's twice as many guys on the field in soccer. It'd be easier to do it. The point here is,
just stop whining. You got a bad call. Deal with it. You're making a lot of money. Go back to the dugout and hit the ball next time, and then there's no chance for a bad call. If you were better at your job and you could hit that fastball or that curve or that knuckleball or whatever's coming at you or the slider, if you could hit that, then you take it out of the umpire's hands.
Yes, as we all know, do the thing that historically, if you do it 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. Just do it more.
Quit complaining about your inability to do your job. That's what you're doing. You're saying, I didn't do my job well enough, so I'm going to project onto you that you're doing your job bad.
You're wrong. What is being projected here is, it is so damn hard to do my job, I don't need you making it harder, okay? It's real simple. A, get rid of these Charmin soft-ass refs, umpires, and B, we got a system that we can put into play that fixes it real easy. So let's do that.
I can't wait till the robots mess up and hear how that you come to their defense.
Talk to me then. Let's talk when that happens. Well, but so far, in an entire spring where we had this,
hopefully
that didn't happen.
We'll get the opportunity.
Brad Marchand, they call him the Rat, is a player for the Florida Panthers. Over the last couple of days, a video started going around from Brad's time up in Boston. Remember, he was the cap for the Bruins for a long time before Florida made the trade to bring him down. Now he's a part of the Stanley Cup finalists. A video went public that a Bruins fan shared where last year, during his last run with the Bruins, Brad was walking to the locker room, and a fan leaned over the railing with his cell phone to put the camera into Brad's face. So Brad, being the reasonable and rational person that he is, grabbed the camera, walked off of it, and started recording a message into it. And he was on a podcast with Jason Demers the other day, and they asked him, he was in the post-game interview from Game 1, I believe, and they asked him about this video that went viral, and it's incredible.
Jay and Silent Bob?
Jason Demers? No, he's a hockey player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But this is from the post-game press conference. Hilarious either way.
The video when you were with the Bruins, you took a fan's phone, you went down the tunnel with
Yeah. Thank you. Hey, what's up? This is BM63. Just walking off from warm-ups. Hope, I don't know whose phone this is, but hope you have a lot of fun tonight, because I know I'm going to. Anyways, gotta go. See ya.
Did you, what went through your mind as you took the fan's phone, and how did you go and find them to give it back?
Well, he just stayed there. So, when I came off, he had his arm, out under the thing with the phone recording. He was probably going to stay there until he had his phone back. So, I didn't really think about that part. I just took his phone because he was in my face. And then I was just like, well, I'm going to take this into the dressing room and record a little video. So, I don't remember how far I went. I was going to take it in and, show all the guys. And I was like, this guy might call the cops on me for stealing his phone. So I should probably give it back. I think I got to do it again.
Okay.
It was absolute theft, without a doubt. And I don't know, you're giving it back hopefully with an apology, and maybe that was enough. But it's how much the phones cost? I mean, what's the fine line between that makes it a worse crime? How much money? It's like a certain amount of money, right?
Or hear me
it's
out.
Not helping me. I just don't know why.
It's just really funny. And if that guy's a Bruins fan, he's probably dying that he's got this random ass video of Brad Marchand looking him dead in the face in his phone because Brad went, this will be fun. I have figured it out. I talked about this yesterday, and this just confirms it for me. Why do I keep rooting for Florida despite the fact that they play a brand of sport that I traditionally and ordinarily hate? And I have figured it out. It is because
they're smart. Alex.
I only hate Brad when he's skating. Brad outside of hockey is a beaut, man. He's a gem, bud. He is fantastic. Away from the ice, Brad Marchand is one of the best dudes. He's the dude that, because listen, I can't tell you how many times that I've done goofy stuff with somebody else's phone because they put it in a spot where I had control of it and I have some fun with it. That's great. And I promise you, if that dude was a Beantown Brew Crew fan, he was probably showing his buddies that video for the last year since it happened. That's an incredible moment for a fan. And I just have come to the conclusion that, dadgummit, I like Brad. It's so gross. I hate him on the ice, but I love Brad. I'll tell you what, let's take a break. I got a couple more clips that I do want to get to before we end this up, and then I've got a couple of thoughts for our final segment of the show. So we're going to run to a break. When I come back, I have a couple of clips that I will get to. One of them...
By the way, grand theft is $1,000, so if that phone was a $1,000 phone, then that's grand theft.
I mean, only if the person considers it stolen. If I'm a Bruins fan and Brad grabs my phone, takes it to the tunnel, and hits me with a personalized...
The fact that he was concerned and he took it back because he thought about it. I just stole someone's phone. Let me take it back. I'm just saying. He realized what he had done. Shout out to that fan for being a good sport. Maybe you should have called the cops.
You know, if I went to a Saints game and one of the fellas took my phone onto the sideline and just started cutting promos into it, I think it was one of the coolest things that's ever happened. But I'm a big dork. What do you want? All right, when we come back, got a couple more clips I'm going to play for you, and then we will wrap it up. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. The Fan Upstate.
Then the music bed is ruined because someone put music behind the line. Killing the vibes, yo.
That's why I never let the vibes develop in the first place.
You were vibing. You were over there. You were over there moving, man. I saw it. He's vibing. I got to go to the restroom. So, I mean, you know. So, we'll be back.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio, the Fan Upstate. Let's play a couple more clips and react to them as we move forward. I want to get this one. Phil Pritchard. You know, we're getting close to the second best month of hockey. The best month of hockey is, of course, the month of June, where we wrap up conference finals and have the Stanley Cup Finals. The second best month of hockey is July, and the second best month of hockey is July because that is when we get the story of what the dudes do when they get their one day with the Stanley Cup. Again, we have had all the stories. We have some dudes that say, I'd like to put it in the chair in my bedroom while I do the boom boom with the wifey. We have had some dudes that have baptized one or multiple children in the cup. We have had some dudes that have taken the cup shark diving. We have had people take the cup to a dive bar and just drink a gallon of brown liquor out of it. Phil Pritchard is the keeper of the cup. He's the dude with the long white hair that always has the white gloves. He's always around the cup. And when the players have their day with the cup, they also have their day with Phil Pritchard because Phil Pritchard does not leave the cup. He is the guardian of the Stanley Cup. Well, he was on the Jason Demers podcast, and they asked him a question that I think we all want the answer to.
What's the most unique, should I put it, food or drink that you've seen consumed out of the cup?
Don't go unique. Give me disgusting.
Yeah,
You were
yeah,
like,
stay,
what the
stay
hell?
away from unique. A lot of the players and the staff and that have different things out of it. And you ask them, why do they want to do that? And then they explain the history behind it. And then it makes a lot of sense. I remember years ago, Thomas Kopecky won the Cup of the Blackhawks. And he's from the middle of Slovakia. And his mom makes this traditional Slovakian soup. And he wanted to put it in, and he wanted to serve it to all his family, this soup that mom made. And it, translated to English, it's the inside of the stomach of a cow soup. But it was really good soup. Like there was dumplings and all sorts of that in there. At first, I tell someone it's the inside of the stomach of a cow soup, and they think, why would he do that? But then he explains what his mom meant to him, and they would play hockey, and they'd come in and get warm, and his mom would have this soup, and it means a whole bunch. And I think that's pretty cool because the guys, all of these moments throughout their life, they're important to them.
Inside of a cow's stomach soup. But
would you?
I think I would, honestly. Like, here's the thing that I've learned about food, and this is from a Southeast Louisiana kid who, our snacks are stuff that most of you would turn your nose up at. It is one thing when somebody just tells you what the food is. It is another thing when somebody tells you that the food is important to them or their family or their culture. I am usually down to try anything if I know the significance of the thing, right? There are very few things that I just cannot bring myself to eat. Rocky Mountain oysters are on that list.
That's a no for me.
Yeah. Like, you can tell me what that bull's, what's, all right? The part that there's two of them.
Reproductive organs.
Yeah, but just like the part that there's two of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
I can't do it. I'll tell you what, you know what I have a hang up on? I have a hang up on liver.
Storage units.
Yeah.
That's what those are.
Yeah, let's go with storage units. A male bull's storage units. No matter what you tell me, my great-grandpappy used to cook these up during the Revolutionary War. I'd be like, well, he didn't have anything else to eat. I guess if I hadn't eaten in 4 or 5 days, I'd consider it, but that's about it. I can't do liver because I know what a liver's for.
Yeah, I've had chicken livers before.
Yeah. All you. All right. But
breaded chicken livers, when you're poor,
if I'm hanging out, if I'm hanging out with a bro from Slovakia and he's like, look, man, like this is the dish of my people. My mom made it for me. It's like my comfort food, whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm trying it. That is far from, I assume, the worst thing that has happened to the cup.
All right, real quick. Cow stomach soup, according to AI Overview, often referred to as tripe soup or stew. It sounds worse when you say tripe stew. And it shouldn't. It's a traditional dish enjoyed in various cultures around the world. It's made using tripe, which is the edible lining of a cow's stomach. And I've tried that before. I didn't realize it because I've tried tripe before and I've tried souse before. Look up souse. I have no idea how to spell it. And, of course, I've had haggis before. So, none of these things are surprising.
I've had haggis before. And so, like I said, I'd probably try anything. But 100% it would be one of those things of like, this food's very important to me. Here's why. And then it's like, all right, fine. I'll do it out of cultural respect.
What would you do?
With the day with the cup?
Yeah, because you've had to think of that before.
Number one, it's going with me to a dive bar. That's just a fact. I'm picking.
Yeah, but see, I'm just curious. So you don't think, well, that's been done before. What can I do that no one else has done? You wouldn't think that way?
No, I think for me, it would be more along the lines of like, I want to do my favorite thing with the cup, right? I don't care if a million other dudes have done it because it's their favorite thing too. I want to do my favorite thing with a cup. And as anybody who knows me will tell you, Rob's happy place, without a doubt, is a late night in a dive bar with a mediocre cover band slamming out the hits of the 80s while he's knocking back a couple of Jack and Diets. That's just my happy place.
What's the circumference of the cup, do you think?
It's like a solid-sized dinner bowl. Like the cup portion where you would put the food, it's like a solid-sized dinner bowl.
So a short person wouldn't fit in it?
No.
Okay,
a baby would, because you can baptize a baby in it, but like you couldn't put like Stone Man in it. You know what I mean?
You said it, not me. I was just
You know
curious.
what you were talking about.
Yeah, it could have been. There's other short people here.
Name them. Exactly. Thank you very much. All right.
Hey, have you guys heard of Wire to Wire? It's an awesome show.
Damn, you sticking Cole Bryson in the cup?
I did. I never said it. I just said we're supposed to cross promote. It's an awesome show.
It is an awesome
They talk about you all the time. They never talk about me. I wonder why.
Probably because you say Cole could fit in the Stanley Cup.
I
That'd
did
be my
not. You
guess.
said that. You said that, not me.
Harold Reynolds is an MLB analyst for the MLB Network. He told a amazing story about Randy, best nickname ever, the Big Unit Johnson, and how he became Randy, best nickname ever, the Big Unit Johnson.
I want to tell a little bit of Randy Johnson's story, how he became the Big Unit. I'll never forget, it was like yesterday. He couldn't throw a strike for anything. His biggest thing was he was afraid he was going to hit somebody. He threw that hard and he'd hurt somebody. So we're in Texas, and he goes to lunch with Nolan Ryan. And Nolan Ryan tells him, next time you get a guy 3-0, throw it at him. They'll get out of the way. That's their job. He goes, don't worry about it. Next time we face the Rangers, 17 punch-outs. And that was it. The unit was born because of Randy Johnson, because of Nolan Ryan in the conversation.
Nolan Ryan was playing for the Rangers.
Yes, and they went to lunch. And Nolan said, hey.
And he woke up the beast?
He woke
so
up
the beast could devour his own team.
Yes, and devour the rest of baseball.
Nolan Ryan, when Randy the Big Unit Johnson wasn't Randy the Big Unit Johnson, got told, if you get a cat 3-0, throw it at him. It's his job to get out of the way. And if you watched Nolan Ryan pitch, you know he 1,000% subscribed to that philosophy. Told Randy Johnson, if you get a guy up in the count on you, just go after him. Just go get him. It's his job to get out of the way, not yours to not be in his way, because Randy Johnson was getting a lot of guys crowding the plate, right? Why wouldn't you? If the kid clearly is afraid to go inside, don't give him an inside to go to. Make him go away from you. That's either where the barrel's going to be or a ball. And Nolan said, hey, if he gets up on you, throw it at his ass. And then Randy Johnson. That's a fantastic story from Harold Reynolds. Let me give you one more before we go. I'm sure that this clip is an old one. I haven't heard it yet. And I'm sorry to bring this up because this is a conversation that most of us want to save until, after the NBA's All-Star game. But Tyrese Halliburton had a very special guest on the Tyrese Halliburton podcast not too long ago where they discussed how the hell do we fix the NBA All-Star game. And his very special guest made it real easy.
Y'all got to have a little more pride in that All-Star game. I mean, look, it's not as if y'all don't play pickup during the summer. You know how to play in a way that, all right, I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'm not going to take anybody out. Like, people just not running. No. It used to be when Kobe and Michael and Isaiah, those guys were playing, man, they wanted to win.
This sounds like a conversation with my pops right now. He gave me the same speech.
It insults the game.
Well, all I said is my first All-Star game, I came off the bench. So I'm just reading the room of what's going on. And
this is your business. This is your product. You don't want people thinking y'all out there just half-assed.
That's a good point. We had a full meeting before last year's All-Star game.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work. Larry Bird came in there and gave us a speech about taking it more serious.
Take it more seriously.
Barack Obama sat down and talked to NBA All-Star Tyrese Halliburton and said, you want it to be good? Y'all got to take it more seriously. And I'm going to tell you what, the reason that I'm most excited about next year's All-Star game being Team USA versus Team of the World? Let me tell you why. Because Team USA is going to be an underdog. Because Team USA is going to be an underdog to Team rest of the world. And when Team USA is an underdog, I am hoping that for the first time in a long time, the fellas that pull on what I hope, because I'll tell you what else I hope they do. I hope they don't put on generic All-Star jerseys. Great one. I hope they wear Team USA jerseys, and I hope the rest of the world wears Team the World with their country's insignia on it. I hope Team USA is in all-white Team USA, and I hope Team everybody else gets to wear the jersey of their country's basketball team, okay? Or maybe Team USA is in blue, and the rest of the world all wear their white version of their country's team, jersey. Because if we couldn't make you care because you were reflecting and representing your team, if we couldn't make you care because you were representing the East or the West, if we couldn't make you care because you were representing Kevin Durant or LeBron James, if we couldn't make you care by having any other gimmick, there is only one gimmick that has been proven to get NBA dudes to show up and lay it on the line outside of their contracted obligation to play for their franchise. It's to pull the USA shirt on. It's to put the stars and stripes on the shoulder, the crest on the other, the red, white, and blue USA across the chest. We sent Team USA to the last Summer Olympic Games, and they murdered everyone. We need that again, because I'm going to keep it a buck. If the boys go out and play in the NBA All-Star Game, like Barack Obama was talking about there, have some pride in it, want to win, and they won't do it with the Team USA across the chest, just go ahead and scrap the All-Star Game as a contest. Just get rid of the game. You can do all the celebrations and festivities and skills challenges and all that, but if they won't do it for the red, white, and blue, just get rid of the damn All-Star Game. Good take from the former president there. All right, when we come back, there is one more NBA take I want to have you, and this one is about this year's NBA Finals, and it is one I have been echoing for a long time, and I'm glad to hear a young lady working her way up in sports radio echo it. I'll tell you what it is next. The Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
So I looked it up. Stanley Cup is almost a foot around. So, yeah, a shorter person would not fit in there.
Radius, circumference, or girth?
Circumference.
Okay.
I didn't look at depth.
So it's a foot across.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'd say that's the size of maybe the size of a dinner plate, but the depth of a soup bowl.
I think I didn't check the depth, but it looks like it'd be a little bit deeper than that. I'm thinking more like a punch bowl.
Big enough. I know for a fact it's big enough you can put at least one bottle of liquor in it. I know that for a fact.
It's also, I mean, when those guys drink out of it, they pick it up and drink it, right? So it can't, I mean, if it's...
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind, it's not just that, like, the trophy's one piece. So you got to pick that whole SOB
I know,
up.
but if you put like 16 ounce something in there, it's going to make it that much heavier and it will slosh.
I think it's like 34 pounds Stanley Cup weigh. 34 and a half pounds. I was all over it. It is 32.25 inches tall, 34.5 pounds. Yeah, I'm taking it to a dive bar. I'm getting on stage. I'm playing guitar with it. I'm drinking a bunch of liquor out of it.
Okay, according to AI Overview, again, don't know if it's real or not, the Stanley Cup can hold about 14 cans of bottles of beer. It's a common stat used to illustrate the size of the trophy. The bowl.
How many?
This would be like the full thing, though. That's not. The bowl on the cup, which is the part that holds liquid, has a capacity of 209 fluid ounces. A standard 12-ounce beer can or bottle would fit within that. So it only has room for...
209 ounces?
Yeah.
So I can fit 10 20 ounces or like 4. I can fit a 12-pack in there. I'm not drinking a 12-pack of beer at a time. I mean, I am, but like over the course of a night, not like chugging 12 beers out of it at one go. Are we going to get the Oz fatigue at some point? Like, this dude's on every show everywhere, and everything he does is spectacular, and I don't understand
I've
it.
seen him on shows and never watched him once. But I saw like a clip without hearing the sound, seeing Joe Rogan just freaked out because he got his PIN number.
Yep.
He
did it to...
I don't want to talk to someone who can get my PIN number. I mean, do you?
He did it to Scotty Scheffler, and he had him pull... No, he had another guy pull golf clubs out of Scheffler's bag, pull irons out of Scheffler's bag in a random order and laid them on the ground. And he looked at Scheffler and he was like, look at those golf clubs. And the guy's like, okay. And he's like, anything stand out about him? And Scheffler's like, no. And he's like, look at the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything stand out about him? And Scheffler goes, that's my PIN code. Like, he had another guy pull clubs out of the bag and got Scotty Scheffler's PIN code in order with the numbers on his iron. He did one to Joe Burrow last offseason where he had Joe, do a bunch of stuff with his team. And then he handed Joe Burrow an envelope. And then had Joe do a bunch of stuff, answer a bunch of questions, open the envelope, and he had every answer he gave to his questions written down in the envelope. It's there's a way he does it.
Of course.
And I want to know what it is, because otherwise I just have to assume.
Especially you as a science guy.
There's a method to it. I did see a guy the other day on a dumb game show that I watch, where it's like a bunch of comedians, where he basically got this guy to think of the keyword elephant, but then he showed how he did it, which was throughout the course of the show, he kept making elephant references throughout the course of the show and basically got the guy thinking about elephants so that he just went. It was really entertaining. Game 3 of the NBA Finals is on tap, on deck. We will have Game 3 as the Thunder and the Pacers are knotted up at a game apiece. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're only a day away. That game will be an 8:30 tip. Hooray! Live in Indiana. And I'm super excited about it.
Why did I think that was Thursday?
NBA Finals NHL Stanley Cup Finals are Thursday.
Okay, all right.
Game 3 of the NBA Finals are tomorrow, and then we'll have a couple where we alternate days. Super excited about it. And you know why I'm super excited about it? I've been telling you. It is because I am not a fan of the Pacers. I am not a fan of the Thunder. I'll tell you what I am a fan of. I'm a fan of basketball. I like the game of basketball. And I like when coaches coach basketball excellently. I like when players play basketball excellently. And I like when teams play team basketball excellently. I came in this finals saying, hey, I really like these finals. And I really like these finals for one reason and one reason alone. I really like these finals specifically because I think they are the best two teams in the NBA. And I don't mean two teams in terms of a collection of talented NBA players all wearing the same uniforms. I mean team as in they play damn good team basketball. And I like a team that understands its dynamic, its concept, its personality, plays to it. I love when a good team has a head coach who says, this is what my team is, this is who they are, this is how they play the best, and let's adapt our coaching to that. These two teams both have that. There's a young lady who I learned about this morning, and I am ashamed and saddened to say I only learned about Ashley Nicole Moss this morning, because I have heard a few takes from her since she popped up on my social media feed yesterday. And I can tell you that the couple of takes I have heard from her are good, they are level-headed, they are not clickbaity, and I think she might be real damn good at this job. Now, apparently she's been around for a little while, which makes me even sadder that I have not been following the career of one Ashley Nicole Moss. But I will be following the career of Ashley Nicole Moss very closely after this fantastic soundbite.
The way that this series has been spoken about is really frustrating to me because I don't think a lot of people in the position to talk about basketball actually like basketball. And what I mean by that is that there's no way that you could see this matchup and say, this is not good for the NBA or this is not going to be good basketball. Because I remember not that long ago, everyone was complaining about the fact that it was the same teams, the same faces in the NBA Finals, in the conference finals. Everyone was frustrated with the super team era because it didn't allow other teams to be in the conversation. There wasn't enough diversity in the league, and it was too lopsided. It was too top-heavy. X, Y, and Z, there were all these justifications. Now, we have 7 different champions in 7 different seasons. We have the next generation now at the forefront. We have the league MVP in the NBA Finals. We have a Pacers team that nobody thought was going to get this far again. They ran through the Eastern Conference, got off of a blockbuster series against the New York Knicks, and now it's like, I don't like the cities that these guys play in. The fact that these series are boring. Right. If you are a basketball fan, you like basketball.
If you are a basketball fan, you like basketball. And I love the opening salvo of that take when she said, I think that there are too many people in a position to talk about basketball who don't like basketball. Who the hell's that sound like? Me over the past years.
You don't like basketball?
No, I love basketball. I mean, the take sounds like my take because I've said for a hot minute about this series, about series similar to it in other sports. If you don't like this series, you don't like basketball. And that's okay. That's okay. Maybe it's not your favorite sport. That's okay. Maybe you don't even like the sport. That's okay. But if you don't like this series, you don't like basketball. Because my description of this NBA Finals is the best 2 basketball teams. Maybe not the collection of most talented dudes on paper, but the best 2 basketball teams. 2 of the most energetic teams, 2 of the fastest teams, 2 of the best defensive teams, 2 of the best coached teams. These are 2 of the best teams in the NBA. These may be, no, scratch that. The best 2 teams. And you go, yeah, Rob, you idiot. They're in the NBA Finals. Of course they're the 2 best teams. Not what I mean. I mean the 2 best play as a team teams in the NBA. I absolutely believe that a large portion of sports talk media is comprised of people who don't actually like sports. They don't like them. They don't watch them. They don't participate. They basically come up with some hot takes, generate some hot takes, and then regurgitate the hot takes of other people. This is why I have pointed out that on almost a regular basis, if you tune into some of the talking head morning shows. The other day, Lonzo and I had a good chuckle about this, a hearty chuckle about this. The other day, we had a night where there was no NBA and there was no NHL the night before. And I said that morning, Lonzo, I guarantee you that by the end of this show, the ESPN AM Bloviating Head Show is going to have 2 segments. It's going to have a segment on the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's going to have a segment on the Dallas Cowboys. And at 8 a.m., Lonzo pointed at the television because the segment they were doing was, can Luka and LeBron bring a championship to the Lakers? And I went, and then 5 minutes later, the great one pointed to the TV a second time because on the TV was a segment, can George Pickens bring a championship to the Cowboys? You know what the conversation I saw them having yesterday was? Is Jason Tatum a superstar? Now, I'm a big dummy. I'm willing to acknowledge that very publicly. I'm an idiot. But unless something bananas has happened in the last couple of days, and I'm pretty tuned in to the sports world, even despite my being a big dumb idiot. Jason Tatum doesn't play for the Thunder or the Pacers, correct? Like, I believe he's still a Boston Celtic.
Last I checked, and I don't think that trades can happen within the...
I think the trade deadline passed a very long time ago. So I'm relatively sure. In the midst of the Pacers and the Thunders playing for an NBA Finals, they went, let's talk about Boston, which is dumb. I like this take from Ashley Nicole Moss. And I'm going to go find more of her stuff today because this is the correct take. It is okay to not like a thing. And I think it is not only okay, I think you should embrace when you don't like a thing. I do it all the time. Lonzo makes fun of me for things that I don't like because of how easy it is for me to make fun of the things that I truly don't like. It's okay to not like a thing, but I think what you should not do is either A, BS your way through a TV or a radio show. You know what I don't talk about on the show? Lacrosse. Lacrosse. There's college lacrosse. It's high-level college lacrosse. Why don't I talk about lacrosse on the show? Because I don't care about it. And in reality, neither do you. But I don't care about it. So I don't talk about it. I like this take from Ashley Nicole Moss. If you are not on board with, if you are not enjoying, and if you have said at any point in the last week and a half, this matchup's bad for the NBA, then you don't like basketball. You like drama. You like celebrity. You like gossip. You like all the dumb things. You like fashion, the fits. What's Tyrese wearing? If that's your thing, that's your thing. Just own it. But acknowledge you don't like basketball because this is good basketball.
Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to look at what is Xing today, and Rob will tell us why. The first thing that's Xing is Machado.
As in Manny Machado, I must assume.
Yes.
I don't know why he's Xing, though, because I'm not going to lie. There was so much sports balls on last night. I didn't watch any baseball that wasn't college.
All right, there's video out there of the umpire cam of...
I did see that. I did see that. I didn't know what he was doing. All I saw was there an umpire, and it's like Machado's helmet, and he's like up in the... Are they arguing?
Yeah, he was unhappy with the call. So I didn't listen to it, but I'm guessing that he was very unhappy.
I suspect you're probably correct. You don't really go toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose, face-to-face with an ump unless you are unhappy.
And the video is everywhere. So.
Yeah, I'm going to find it immediately after show. You know what I want to see? I want to see... You did a great job, man. No, awesome call. I'm really happy and proud of you. Your wife should be proud of you. You should get a raise, and I think that I'm going to celebrate you tonight when I go to the bar. Great call, man.
Yeah,
I want to see that argument.
That'll get you kicked out of the game because of the fervor in which you were imparting that.
Okay, I just found this quote. It was Padres-Dodgers was the game, and Machado apparently turned around. Machado plays for the Padres, turned around and said to the umpire, he said that was outside. Will Smith said, he said that was outside. I told him, so is your shot at ever winning the division. I hope
Wait,
that's
the
true.
umpire said that?
No, the catcher said that.
Okay.
Machado turned to yell at the ump, that was outside, and Will Smith, the catcher, without getting up, by the way, said, yeah, so's your chance to win the division. That's stone cold.
That's pretty funny.
That's really good.
All right, the next thing is Xing is minicamp.
Minicamp Xing because NFL minicamps around the league are starting, at least the teams that are having them. I did notice there's like a handful of teams that actually straight up canceled. Detroit canceled their minicamps this year. Now, listen, these minicamps are 3 days long, right? Like there's a bunch of them, but they're like 3 days at a time. And ordinarily they are meant for like installation. Show up 3 days. We're going to run you through the language. We're going to run you through the routes and the progressions. We're going to give you the playbook. Then you're going to go home and you're going to take some time to study and learn. And then when you come back for the next one, we'll go one step further. I will tell you that Carolina is having a mini camp. Day one of the mini camp is today. Day two tomorrow. Day three is obviously Thursday. It is a 3-day mini camp. So by the time we have Rashad Beard on Thursday at 8:40 a.m., we should have a pretty good idea of what's happening behind the scenes in Charlotte, North Carolina.
All right, so there's been several breaking news stories, but I didn't think.
How many fights? How many fights? How many fights?
No, this is just about people not showing up.
Oh.
So, like TJ Watt is not showing up. So, anyone who's in contract negotiations are not showing up. Why am I forgetting his name? From Cincinnati, defensive tackle.
Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, he's not at their training camp.
Dude, he is
But
straight
who expected him to be there? I don't.
The way he has talked about that franchise. And by the way, I'm going to tell you this right now. For a team that gave up 713,396 points last year, but scored 2 less than that over the course of the season, it is absolutely unbelievable to me that Cincinnati's going to let that guy walk over a couple of milli. And more importantly, that they did not just burn the bridge between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals, they napalmed it.
All right, the next thing that's Xing is Sly Stone.
Sly Stallone?
No,
or
Stone.
Is it Sly
Okay,
as
so
in
you
the,
don't know
as
who
in
it
the
is.
Sly in the Family Stone?
Yes, him.
Don't come at me like that, bro.
Okay, all right.
Come at me like that.
I was curious because I brought someone up the other day and you had no idea who they were. He passed away. He was 82.
You should have gone with that one first. Why'd you buzzkill the show like
Well,
that?
because we got one more after it.
This better be good.
One of his most famous songs, Thank You for Helping Me.
Helping me.
Be Myself.
Be myself again. Yeah, banger.
And finally, the last thing that's Xing is Gunther.
Gunther Xing because last night.
Friend of the show.
The Rob Brown Show bump isn't just real. Much like me, it's real and long lasting. Congratulations to buddy of the show, Gunther, for grabbing the WWE Heavyweight Championship back. Professional wrestlers, when you come to town, don't skip out on the Rob Brown Show because the bump is real.
Could have kept it, Jay. All you had to do is swing
All you had to do was
by.
come on the show. That's all you had to do. Come by the show, be a part of the show, and Jay would still be the champion today. Thanks for being here. If you didn't like the show, it's your own fault. Come back tomorrow. Try again. Maybe you'll enjoy it more because we're going to try harder. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. See you back here tomorrow for the Rob Brown Show on the Fans Upstate. Whew. Later.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Yes, it does.
What are the dimensions of it?
Depends on which iteration of Oompa Loompas you're looking at.
Oh, yeah, because the Hugh Grant Oompa Loompas, they look like they were smaller.
Yeah, and the one with the Johnny Depp. That dude looked smaller
that's
too.
right. I forgot about that one, too.
Yeah, so.
That's right.
So I'm thinking the Johnny Depp Oompa Loompa and the Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa both would fit in there.
I actually forgot about the Johnny Depp version.
The movie was weird, so I mean I get it, but
Was this a fight video? It is a fight video. Oh,
is it?
That's a dope round.
It doesn't matter. It's still cool,
it's cool
especially how it ends.
Yeah. Last dude just takes it on the chin. That's good tech.
If it is a movie, it's one I've never seen before. So
Well, I mean, just like it's like a social media thing.
the question is it AI or is it real people doing that? I don't know, because who knows anymore. The Bigfoot stuff's been showing up on my feed now that you told me about, but it just looks like a giant ape.
It does.
Yeah, it doesn't look like what.
Well, I mean, I believe technically, I would make the assumption that if Bigfoot was real, and Bigfoot's not real, but if he was, he would be some version of a great ape, like us.
All them videos, you don't look like a monkey to me. I've been wanting to hear this one. I got to listen to this one. They're jousting on rhinos.
Do what now?
Stormtroopers jousting on rhinos. It was Greg has been getting torn up quite a bit on these videos.
Oh, Greg's the Chris Farley.
I don't know why we're still streaming, but we are. So I mean,
There's a what we're talking about is there's a series of AI videos on social media of Greg the Stormtrooper and whatever the other guy's name is.
his name is Terry, apparently. Yeah.
Terry and Greg the
So Terry's the main guy, and Greg's the guy who he's not very bright and has problems. I watched one yesterday where they stole Vader's lightsaber, which was a mistake.
Okay, that's it. I gotta go. Thanks for being here. You're all spectacular people. Have a super dope rest of your day, dudes. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich, famous, and retired. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.